All right, I'm Pat Davidson. Welcome to day 2 of Rethinking the Big Patterns. So, we're going to start off today with like kind of recapping what we did yesterday. You get like the absolute like smash and grab version of day 1 to start off with. Answer some questions, and then the next thing we'll get into is actually showing a workout that I would use for day 1, people that are, not skilled in the weight room. And the problem with trying to do that with the people that attend is that you guys are usually good at exercise. It's like you do things with trainers and it's like, it looks pretty good. It's almost like you're like, hey, who sucks at squatting? And like the person that volunteers, they come up and it's like, oh, it's actually fucking way better than any client I've ever had. So, I don't know, just keep doing what you're doing for the most part. Like, so it's a little bit tougher because it's not a perfect thing, but I try to make it as close to what you would experience if you were working with young kids that were starting off. Just as an overall announcement, the recordings of these things, like yesterday's recordings for videos, we have emailed you a link to where you'll be able to get these things. It's in a Google Drive account. You'll have to send a request over to be able to access it, and we will have to grant you the request. We will do that. It's just, you got to appreciate there's a lot of people sending these things, and some of you send them from time zones that are very different from Eastern Standard Time. So, if you send it at the equivalent of our 4 in the morning, like you'll get it, first thing in the morning when we can get to it. So we will be getting those over to you as quickly as possible. We are granting those requests as I speak. So it's coming to you. We're doing, I really want to give a big thank you to Diego and Maya, who are behind the scenes running this thing. And I think that we're providing you with a really high level of video and audio that I'm very happy with for this product. And there's a lot that goes into this part of it in terms of offering a digital product and trying to make it quality and making it come to you quickly. So I just want to give them a huge thank you because I certainly could never do that part of it on my own. You need people that are specialists in these areas to be able to do those things. And I think we have got a great team for you with this product. So thank you guys very much. So I want to kind of recap yesterday because yesterday is literally just going through the 7 pillars, like explaining these things and trying to do so in a way that is thorough yet understandable at the same time, to explore the depths of these topics, but to pull out the most useful elements and try to focus on those. There's only so much that you can ever cover. And it's like, I keep referring to the mentorship group, but it was, for me, I think, a great experience. And hopefully for the people that participated in it, I believe it was for you guys as well. We did get some good conversations and good feedback and all that kind of stuff. And one of the areas that we went into, like one of the assignments that I gave and that I thought the participants did a great job with was designing your own training model, and what people found through this process, because, it was like very much, your team critiquing you, and then you would send your products over to the other teams and they would critique that. And it's just like a battle online after that. And like, who's going to be the best at critiquing the other team? And, it's that accountability that kind of rides along with that, as well as the feedback you get. And one of the things that I found very interesting from people as they went through that process was just sort of saying like, as I went through the process of making this model, I realized like, oh, there's this whole realm over here. And then you kind of pull out this section. And it's like an endless number of like drop files and folders and things that pop out. Like, man, I get into this topic and then there's all these subtopics. And then I have to explain those subtopics, and then that leads to more subtopics. And so it's this almost never-ending process. You're like, oh God, this can of worms has other sub cans of worms inside of it. When do you stop? And I'm like, I don't have a great answer for you, but I know at some point you just have to fucking stop, okay? And that was what I went through with trying to write that book. And, for me, it was like, I think I've fucking written enough, okay? At a certain point, like I can't go anymore. Like I guess I could, but I don't even think it's a good idea. And then when you're trying to do a seminar, it's a similar sort of a thing. Like, God, this seminar could be 6 days. You know, it really could. It's just that if we're constrained to 2 days, at a certain point, you're like, this is a good place to stop. If we go any further, it's just like, we won't cover the breadth of all the topics that we need to address here. And I feel like that's a failure in a seminar. So I'm always trying to provide, uh, different, more specific services and products for the given subtopics. And, I'm trying to differentiate the seminar product going forward into the future as well. I kind of mentioned that yesterday, but the reason I'm getting into it today is because we are going to be covering some exercise pieces today, but it's impossible to cover all of the exercises in one day. But we do have the other product of the exercise database where we came in and we filmed for like a total of 24 hours or something like that over the course of a few weekends. It was Luke, you were there for it. It was a hell of a fucking thing. Like, it was a grind. But we filmed basically every single exercise that's in the PowerPoint. Somehow, I think Kyle lost like some of the sections, and I'm like, oh my God, like, not this Kyle, a different Kyle. Like, I'm like, Jesus, how did you fucking manage to do this? And like, how did you organize it the way that you did? Like, it's so straightforward, and God damn it. But, I digress. But anyways, that is a separate product that, it literally details every single exercise in the presentation that you have here. And you'll be able to see each one coached. So if you're like, I don't really understand what, like, this thing's talking about in core pelvis, lateral stance, frontal plane, exercise number 6. It's like, well, it's videoed, it's coached. You'll see somebody doing it the way that I want it done. It's available for you. And like anything else, if you really want to go in and see every exercise, it just takes time. I'm pretty sure it was 24 total filming hours that it took. And that's way more than just 24 hours of being here. It was like over the course of like 5 weekends, I think, that it took to film all this stuff. And we were here all fucking day, both days. So that's available. And I think well worth it from the standpoint of being able to see every single drill. I can remember, Ethan Grossman and I, we've been working together for a while now. I think, Kyle, you were in the same classes as him my first year at Springfield. So it's always great for me to see, people that I taught years ago back in these rooms again. Now, were you in the stats class with him? The one where I hit the desk? And yeah, that was a interesting morning. But, I remember when we were going through, because there was like a group of us basically all trying to learn all this movement related stuff kind of at the same time. Like we were going to courses. I remember you went out to, did you work or intern with Mike at Central Mass PT? You didn't? Ethan did. I know there were a couple people that went there. You went obviously to Cressy and iFast and Arizona too. Did you go there? That was just Dave? Yeah. But you've been to a lot of places and learned a lot of things. And, Ethan went to Central Mass PT and he tried to learn everything. And I just remember like we were reading everything we could get our hands on. We were watching every video we could possibly get our hands on. It was like, SFMA, DNS, PRI, whatever the fuck other letters you want to put together. Like, it was like game on. Like, we're all going down this road as hard as we can and learning things. And, we had every manual and every exercise. And I feel like, I know Ethan, I'm sure you did too, because Ethan was living with you, I remember. And I remember he was talking to me, he was like, I've done literally every exercise in the entire PRI like catalog. I've practiced every single one multiple times. And I'm like, yeah, I totally have too, just for like fucking hours by myself, going through these things, trying to feel these things, breathe, like understand every element of like feet and ribs and fucking mouse houses and tucking pelvises and, you know, and it's like it takes time to really do these drills and to figure it out with your own body. And and personally, I feel like it's a disservice in some ways to just have a whole seminar like this that's just like, okay, we're going to do exercise number 1, now we're going to do exercise number 2, 3, 4. It's like I'd rather be able to explain the general rules that govern things across the board so that you can apply those things. And if you, it's almost like if you understand one thing to the highest level, you understand all things to the highest level with these topics. But at the same time, we still have to do them in here, you know? And the way that I do this day is, again, I recap day 1. I show a workout for beginners in the morning. At the very end, I bring someone that's pretty advanced and knows what they're doing through an advanced workout that is designed for a professional tennis player that I hypothetically have trained for 5 years. So like this person's nasty, they know what they're doing, and the specifics of high-level tennis is that it's going to be, you know, a low-load, high-velocity sport that involves a tremendous amount of movement variability and, you know, the like really needing to be able to turn a thorax, really being able to shift a pelvis, to lateralize weight, to create expansion in one part of a swing, to create propulsion in the mid part of the swing, to be able to accept in the follow through of the swing. You know, I like that workout. I'm not sure who's going to be going through that one. It's like you got to be pretty on point and really know what you're doing to be able to do that one. And in the middle, we kind of cover the basics of like some core exercises. I try to make sure some squatting, you know, like knee dominant, hinging gets in there, some pushing and some pulling. But the problem is that you couldn't possibly cover all the exercises in one day, let alone and all the stances and all the planes and all that kind of stuff. And it's not worth it. I've taught some of these things where I've put a lot more time into like, hey, we're gonna fucking demo these things, and it just turns into a great big shit show. Usually, it's like now I have people fucking over there meandering around, like just wasting time. And to me, it's not as good a product as more focused stuff. We also are going to go through just some quick assessment pieces and ways in which we'll change range of motion and give people access to strategies from a skeletal standpoint that they might have lost at some point in time. So that's the outline for what we cover today. To recap day 1, 7 pillars is the organizational system. And pillar 1 is movement quality. It's got 13 motor patterns: breathing, core thorax, core pelvis, locomotion, change of direction, throwing, triple extension, hip dominant movements, knee dominant movements, horizontal pushing, horizontal pulling, vertical pushing, vertical pulling. Bang, nailed it, okay? I've got 3 stances that I can do these exercises in. Some of them don't apply to all patterns. It's hard to do bilateral stance locomotion. It's actually impossible because now it's just triple extension. So some of these roads lead to dead ends. It's like, okay, we're going to do sagittal plane bilateral locomotion. It's like, not a thing, guys. Sorry, don't know what to tell you. If I can move on to the next thing, because this is not a thing. So stances: bilateral stance, front, back, staggered, lateral staggered. Planes: sagittal, frontal, transverse. Pillar 1, done, okay? Select your pattern, select your stance, select your plane. Now you've got the basics of the exercise that you're going to be doing. Now that you've determined the exercise, we have to quantify the exercise. Load, velocity, duration. Load divided into 3 zones: heavy, moderate, light. Velocity, 3 different divisions: fast, moderate, slow. Duration, 3 divisions: long, moderate, short. Specific numbers cut off the demarcations between those things. So I pick my pattern, I pick my stance, I pick my plane, I pick my load, I pick my velocity, I pick my duration. Some combos don't make sense. Can't have high load, high velocity, long duration. Just not possible, because that means that you're doing, you know, 85% of your 1 rep max really fucking fast for over 2 minutes. That's not a thing. It's just not a thing. Then pillar 3 is movement standardization, based mostly upon evolutionary anatomy comparisons of humans and chimp skeletons. And this stuff is associated with sagittal sensory motor competency, frontal sensory motor competency, and transverse sensory motor competency. Sagittal sensory motor competency is looking at someone from a profile view perspective, and you see sagittal centering, where the middle of the skull is over the middle of the pelvic floor, and that the person can authentically retract their thorax without losing that relationship between skull and pelvic floor. And the most common way that people inauthentically retract their thorax is they just simply down pump handle their sternum, okay? If I can see the sternum basically stay in a controlled place as the thorax, primarily the posterior rib cage, moves backwards, as there's a maintained relationship between skull and pelvic floor, you nailed it, great job. If you are in true motor competency during drills in the sagittal plane perspective, then you should feel the sensory competencies of hamstrings, glutes as hip extensors, and internal obliques as, I'm not even sure what you call them, infero, postero, ribero movers, if that's a right movement term. Sure, why not? Everything's just fucking made up in terms of direction anyways, so you can only do that if you keep your inside ankle bone high. So, then we go on to frontal sensory motor competencies, and that is where I manage to center over a foot. And if I'm centered over a foot, it means that my nose is over my sternum, which is over my belly button, which is over my zipper, which is over my knee, which is over my big toe. If I've authentically centered my weight over a foot, I also see a couple other things that are motor qualifiers for the frontal plane. I see a seesaw pelvis, so I see the ilium on the side that I'm centered over be higher in space than the ilium on the other side. I'll also see the anterior ribs on the side that I'm centered over be inferior compared to the ribs on the other side. I'm going to close this side over here, and if I do that, my neck will actually side bend back the other way, okay? If I center over my right foot, I put the majority of my mass over this foot. If my mass goes straight down through this foot, it pushes into the ground here. The ground has reactive forces that come straight back up. Those ground reaction forces dome the pelvic floor on this side. They dome the diaphragm on this side, and they go straight on up through the top of my head and basically push my neck back this way, okay? So it's a frontal alternation of the segments primarily, where I'll see kind of like pelvis up, thorax down, cranium up on the right side if I'm truly centered over this foot. We have these troubleshooting guides to where it's like, hey, if it looks like it's centered, but they're not feeling the right things, what do I do? From a sagittal plane perspective, it's like, oh, no hamstrings, no glutes, no internal obliques, more heels. Frontal plane, what you should be feeling if you're truly centered is going to be adductor, glute med, transverse abdominis, serratus. If you're not feeling those things, go back to jail, do not collect $200, go and fix your sagittal plane stuff. That's almost always the fix with this stuff. And I can tell you it's usually loosey-goosey individuals that don't have good, solid connection with the ground through their feet that are usually the most sagittally kind of incompetent individuals. And they'll look like, wow, look at the hip shift on this person. Look at, they're way over there. It's like, how are you not fucking feeling this adductor? I don't understand this at all. And it's like, oh, they literally have no sagittal competency whatsoever. It's just like a loose bag of bones that's kind of moving around. They don't have any connection to anything from a competency standpoint. Go back and build that sagittal plane and take your time. The other part of the frontal plane that's just a huge deal for being able to lateralize weight is what's happening with the feet, okay? If I'm pronating a foot, I'm going to lateralize away from that side. I supinate to accept weight into this side. So if I want to go right, I have to pronate left and supinate right. If I want to go left, I need to pronate right and supinate left, okay? Those things fit with these larger concepts of expansion and compression. I'm going to compress to move away. I'll expand to move towards, okay? If I want to rotate my thorax to the left, I better compress my right rib cage. This is a transverse concept, but when you're speaking about these things, as we alluded to, while I demarcate these different drills based on planar divisions, there probably in truth is no real planes. There probably is just simply helical motion, and it is expansion and compression of those things that we kind of visually witness displaying themselves in what we refer to as sagittal, frontal, and transverse. And this is my George Box clause. George Box is the guy that's most famous for saying all models are wrong, but some are useful. I'm willing to sacrifice how correct I am for being as useful as I possibly can. So even if I'm wrong about planes or no planes, to me, the most useful expression of the information is to provide planar, objective things that you're looking to accomplish. And we kind of talked about this yesterday to a certain degree of I'm trying to provide, and this might have actually been, we had a conversation after the seminar that was more about stability yesterday. And, it was kind of like, why am I so sort of against this term? And it's kind of like, well, again, like it's something I can't measure, and I find it to be limited in terms of the subjective information that I get back from the person. And I try to use this model in Pillar 3 to overcome the limitations of words like stability and mobility, because I really don't know what to do with the words. So I try to get as close as I can to something that is measurable as I possibly can. And I'm very grateful that I taught statistics to undergraduate students in some ways. Like the chapters that you have to go through, they point out some things that are annoying in some ways, but incredibly useful if you digest the information and really think about the true utilization of it. And we have these different levels of measurement. You kind of have like the ability to just create like like these divisions. Like I won't get into the exact names because you forget when you haven't taught this stuff in like 8 years or something. But I believe it's nominal scale is the first one, where it's just like, this is red and this is fucking green. Okay, it just is what it is. Okay, from a frat guy logic perspective, you can't. It's red. This is green, and that's the scale we're going with. It's its own thing. It's kind of binary. It's either red or it's not red. And it's the most simplistic way of utilizing information and scaling things and all that sort of thing. But when you're left with nothing else, it's kind of like, okay, like, so to me, some of these competencies, like, do you feel your hamstrings? No. Well, okay, there's an answer. Versus yes, like you do. And then of course it can be like, do you feel them more? So we're kind of getting some sort of a frame of reference, and then I can add numbers to it. Like from hey, can you just tell me, like on a scale from 1 to 10, the first time you did this drill, how much did you feel your hamstring? Like a 3. It's like, okay, so we check the box that from a binary perspective, they do feel their hamstrings. And now from some sort of a scale of numbers that we're working with, I can begin to quantify this to some degree. So, I suppose you could do this with stability. How stable do you feel? All right, but it's less specific than do you feel your hamstrings? All right, and when I can get more specific with things, I'm always in favor of that approach, because I feel as though it gives me more clear information about a topic. And in this particular case, if I'm talking about sagittal plane competency, to me, a hamstring muscle is a great anti-gravity muscle. It's like, what is the point of sagittal plane muscles? The point of sagittal plane muscles is to serve an anti-gravity function. They prevent you from falling on your face or falling on your back, which is great as a biped, okay? The hamstrings, due to their attachment on the tibial tuberosity and wrapping up around the backside of the leg and attaching into the ischial tuberosity, or I'm sorry, the tibial plateau on the bottom, ischial tuberosity on the top, that ischial tube attachment is great if I want to prevent a pelvis from tipping forward and having someone fall on their face. Like, if the hamstring can control that thing, it's an anchor to prevent an anterior fall. I look at IOs as basically being the flipped around version of the thorax's hamstring. It just kind of wraps up and around from the thoracolumbar fascia on the back and grabs onto those anterior, inferior ribs on the front, and it prevents the whole rib cage from just posterior tilting off your body. Okay, so it's like, if I got an anchor on the back that prevents this anterior fall and an anchor on the front that prevents this posterior fall, and they're pretty equalized, I'm like, I think this structure is going to stay upright, which technically is being stable. But I don't know how to measure stability, but I can ask you about these specific muscles, which mechanically make sense for the function I'm thinking about, which is anti-gravity. So, you know, it's worth having a discussion about, but ultimately, I think that this is a more useful model than a model that references words like stability. What's the structure that's actually preventing collapse? Hamstrings, glutes, and internal obliques from a forward-backward standpoint. What's the structures that are preventing loss of lateral control? Adductors, glute medius, transverse abdominis, serratus. What are the tissues that can drive this sort of rotational element and potentially prevent me from like spinning myself off of myself? External obliques, glute max, low trap on the backside. Those are some big power players from that, from a specific muscular perspective. I try not to get into low trap too much just because it's a bit of a shit show in terms of like the low fibers of the low trap. I'm not even gonna fucking go there. Fuck that. Okay? It's basically a muscle that hooks onto, you know, the vertebral, what the fuck is the name of the thing that projects off the backside? Spinous process. Like, after, I just haven't been sleeping too well. Anyways, it kind of comes over from the side, it hooks on, grabs on the spinous process, and so if it's here, it basically turns it like that. So it contralaterally rotates you. And it's almost like the sail on a sailboat, okay? If you picture this as like a boat, like you could picture it going this way, and here's the mast. This would be the spinous process. And it's like the wind hits it, and if the wind hits it on this side, it'll turn it that way. So it's the low trap is basically like the wind hitting the sail on a sailboat, and it just turns it like, boom, it goes the opposite way. So people, I feel like, you know, they look at the low trap, and look, the low trap is a unilateral retractor of the posterior rib cage too. But to me, so it kind of syncs and pairs from a sagittal plane perspective with the internal obliques on the front to be able to, it's like the internal obliques act on the anterior rib cage to be able to drop them down and back. And the low trap on the backside kind of pulls on the posterior rib cage to pull it back in space. But when I think about the magic of the low trap, it's really a contralateral rotator that comes with a reach, okay? I compress the EOs on the front side, and I utilize the low trap on the backside. The EOs turn the front, the low trap turns the back to be able to rotate me in the other direction. I pull the sailboat this way from the back, and I mash the front to be able to turn this way. And that's a beautiful relationship and pairing to be able to create turning, okay? I'm not going to maximize the ability of the low trap to act as a contralateral rotator until I get the center of mass back far enough to leverage it on the posterior rib cage and spinous process. Okay? It's just that it's a bit of a like a tertiary level explanation. It's like I have to check 2 other boxes first before I can really maximize that thing. I can remember seeing a video of Thomas Myers talking about the low trap, and he was like, it basically has confused everybody that's ever worked in this field. So like, if you happen to die, go to heaven, and then come back to life after that, like make sure you ask Jesus how the low trap works so you can tell the rest of us. And it's like, well, the low trap is first going to be able to posterior retract the posterior ribs, okay? And if I do that well enough and then want to turn the other way, it's going to be able to turn the spinous process contralateral. So, you know, thanks, appreciate that one. Anyways, transverse plane sensory motor competencies are what we utilize to spin and turn, okay? And dissociation and mirror asymmetry are the big things to look for. I want to give you those pieces because I don't want you having to spin your wheels about all of the intricacies and specifics of muscles like the low trap, because it's just fucking if you want to go down the wormhole of the low trap and, you know, ribs on scaps and scaps on ribs and spines on scaps and or spines on ribs and all this kind of stuff, please do. Like, please, it's worth it so that you can maybe figure out something new that somebody else hasn't figured out, but you're going to go down a long, winding path. So I try to give you almost like, here's, after me going down these rabbit holes, here's the useful stuff that I pulled out of it to give to you. And so that becomes the sensory motor competencies of the planes. And it's like the more that I can witness this mirror asymmetry of the body functioning, the more I'm featuring an already pre-existing sagittal sensory motor competency and the ability to lateralize weight effectively to center. Those things in many ways have to be in play to be able to set me up for success with turning. If I am struggling to manage gravity in whatever position I'm in from a center of mass perspective, my nervous system and my skeletal anatomical geometry will conspire together against me and prevent me from turning. Now let that sentence sink in, okay? That's a pretty good gut punch right there. We're going to explain skeletal anatomical geometry to a greater degree here today so that you can kind of appreciate the way that the shape of the skeleton impacts the possibilities that it has for moving, okay? But ultimately, the hardest thing that you have to deal with on this planet is getting upright and turning. It's not easy, okay? There's constantly forces inside of you that are turning, that you turn against externally. And then if you want to function to move through space, most of it is based on turning your body to some degree. It's just that when you can't manage the internal and external forces that you're dealing with and trying to cope with at all times on this planet, when you can't manage those effectively and with pretty easy low stress conditions, you're going to make adaptations from a morphological perspective of your neuromuscular and musculoskeletal structural parts of you that will limit how much you can turn, and your nervous system will kind of provide mostly a gamma-driven tone that will inhibit and prevent you from being able to let muscles fully express themselves from a range of motion because they're working together with skeletal shape change to limit turning capabilities. All right, now that's a lot, but hopefully we can kind of unpackage that as we go. Pillar 4 is movement progression, and the progression models in here are a 10-step principle-based model that is primarily based on when you're not seeing what you want, here are my suggestions for where to go back to. If you understand the start point, you have a pretty good idea how to make progress going forward anyways. So start static, start sagittal, start bilateral with your stance, minimize the effects of gravity that you're having to deal with, start with short levers, maximize references, maximize constraints, maximize reactive neuromuscular training, minimize load, and already got that one. It's always 9. I always get 9 of these, and then I'm like, damn it, what's the other one? I think I got short levers. You know, and then I'm like going through it again. I'm like, damn it, what the hell is the other one? Minimize range of motion only the zone of competency. That's the one. It's usually RNT or the damn range of motion one that I miss. It's like almost always one of those. It's never start sagittal. I'm like, now let's check off these easy ones first. But when you just think about those things, they are pretty easy to understand once you understand the definitions of, like, you know, RNT and constraints and references. You're like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, I have to feel certain things throughout the entire movement. Cool, got it. Constraints. All right, like if I don't, you know, if I'm doing some kind of frontal plane, knee dominant thing from a front back stance, I don't want my femur to just like flop out sideways. So, hey, maybe if I put an object right here, I'll have the person hip shift and it's like, hey, don't touch that thing. And it's like, now I prevent the leg from moving where I don't want it to go. Put those things in the beginning, the person's going to have an easier time learning. All of those things are designed to create the layup version of whatever fitness exercise pattern you're trying to get across to the person that you're working with. And I'm telling you right now, the more that someone gets the concept, even just one time, they need to just understand it one time through whatever means necessary. They can understand it once, you've got something to build off of. Now they can understand other variations of it. They have some kind of working model that's competent in the beginning that they can base all other drills off of going forward. The first understanding is the most critical part. And I think that that's the most streamlined way of modifying the drills that you're choosing to be able to provide that understanding for the people that you're working with. It should be easy. Like when you're trying to teach a concept, it shouldn't take more than like 2 cues to get the person to understand it. If it takes more than that, you chose an activity that's too complicated for the person to do competently. All right? And like, I really feel as though, you know, the clients that I've worked with in the city have been very poor movers. You know, it's like people that seek you out for personal training in urban environments are usually people that don't know how to exercise on their own. Okay? If people don't know how to exercise it's like, I don't know how to do my fucking taxes. Like, I don't want to deal with it. It fucking stresses me out, freaks me out. Like, I'm just like, oh God. So I hire an accountant, okay? And I love the accountant conversation. I've had this with many other trainers as well, because it really speaks volumes about how people find trainers too. I found an accountant. How did I find my guy? I talked to another trainer I liked, and I was like, hey, you got an accountant that you work with? And she was like, yeah, he's great. I'm like, I don't know how she evaluated him as whether or not he's great or not. And then I'm like, okay, he did the thing for me. And then other people were like, hey, do you have an accountant? I'm like, yeah, I got a guy. They're like, how is he? I'm like, he's fucking great. I'm like, I have no idea if the guy's great or not, but like, you know, he did what I needed him to do. And so he's great. But it's the same thing. Like, you know, people trying to evaluate trainers. It's like, hey, is your trainer good? Yeah, I think so. He's super cool. Like, I really like him. Like, yeah. It's like, how do you make this judgment? Like, I don't know. But the interesting thing, the accountant conversation then goes in a different direction, because it's kind of like, imagine going to, because you get clients that you work with and they're like, yeah, you know, I'm just not digging this exercise. Like, just don't like squatting. We're not going to do that anymore. And it's like, what? And they're like, yeah, I'm just not squatting anymore. And you're like, wait, you're just making this fucking statement, and like, I guess I have to go along with it in some ways. Like, all right, like, fuck. But imagine going to your accountant and being like, this whole numbers thing, it's not really working for me. Like, I'm gonna need you to do something different here. And they'd just be like, man, shut the fuck up. Like, are you kidding? Like, this is like, just fucking go along with this. Don't put your fucking input in here. It's gonna be way better if you just shut the fuck up. And I'm like, I wish we could kind of just say that to people sometimes. Like, listen, just shut the fuck up. Like, trust me, the less that you have input in this process, the better. Okay. Because, but again, it's this hard kind of evaluation thing, and it's an interesting conversation. But it's hard to evaluate how good anybody is. It's super hard. There's no actual metric for that. There's no standard control. It's like what people base these things on is usually just like, yeah, I heard about this girl. Like, she's amazing. You gotta go to her fucking class. And it's like, okay, totally. How the hell does, it's like just the most mysterious mechanism I've ever seen in terms of how things actually work. But hopefully this industry somehow figures itself out and we get better overall and that whole spiel. But those are great ways to give people, anyways, the whole point of this was I work with people that suck at exercise, okay? And you, like working at a college with students that loved exercise and athletes that were pretty good at exercise, it like completely, you don't have to be a great coach to get them to like work hard and nail exercises and make incredible progress. You just start drinking your own Kool-Aid and you're like, oh man, I'm the fucking best, okay? Everybody I work with just fucking is incredible. We do the most amazing drills. They nail it. And you come here and you're like, this is, fuck, like this person screwed this up. I didn't think this was possible to screw up. And you have to create almost foolproof activities that pretty much nobody could screw up that actually deliver the goal adaptation that you're shooting for, okay? And so I'm always like, hey, if you want to get better at a coach, find the least athletic people you could possibly work with. And if you can get them to do things remotely close to okay, you're really getting better at your craft. And if you work with somebody that has even a remote clue about how to move their body, you're going to look like the fucking second coming here, all right? So seek out, like, again, victory without sacrifice is meaningless. Seek out the real situations where it's like you can, if I worked with excellent movers all the time, I never would have figured out these principles. There would have been no need. It's like, it's just fucking working. They're doing great, like whatever. You encounter problematic people, and that is the driver to discover better information. And you apply it, it applies across the board, and it's so easy when you're working with people that actually can do this pretty well. The other part of Pillar 4 is the propulsion arc. We are going to get more into the propulsion arc when we talk about the specific patterns. You know, I'm going to, after we put people through a workout, I'm going to talk through the patterns, and I'm going to begin with breathing, and I'm going to go through more of the propulsion arc as we talk about breathing. So what we have with that is 3 zones: wind up, strike zone, follow through is how I explain it. Wind up and follow through are my expansion dominant zone. Strike zone is the compression dominant zone. In the expansion dominant zones, I have the joint actions that correspond with expansion are external rotation, flexion, abduction, supination, plantar flexion. The respiratory component that rides along with expansion is the inhalation phase of breathing. The muscle action that goes with expansion is going to be yielding. The muscular orientation that goes along with expansion is the eccentric orientation. That is a very useful guide. Start people in zone 1 with expansion. Zone 1 is going to be basically, if I'm looking at arms and legs, it's kind of like right here for arms, right here for legs. It's very limited kind of flexion position. If I'm thinking about squatting or hinging or things like that, an easy way to implement zone 1 principles is to use a goblet squat or to use a trap bar for the upper extremity. If I'm looking at horizontal and pressing and pulling, I could use dumbbells, and that features more of a zone 1 concept, or I can use a neutral grip for any kind of a row. When I coach rowing, this concept has been very useful from the standpoint of like, I'm really going to focus on the shoulder as being the pivot point for the exercise, and I'm going to bring the elbow more towards the hip. Not only does it feature more of a zone 1 concept, but it seems to lead to much better recruitment of scapular muscles, overall back muscles rather than arms, okay? And it just never seems to give anybody shoulder problems versus like anything that's up higher, you see more funky things. You see more compensatory actions, you see more things that you won't like, and it just simply fits better from this arc concept and coming more and more into a zone 1 position at the terminal point of the row. Everything that you can examine from I just look at it a lot like a golf swing. You know, if you want to help somebody with a golf swing, the easiest place is to give them a better setup, okay? Have them set up appropriately in terms of where they're aiming, how they're standing, how their hands are positioned. And if you nail the setup, it's almost like the club swings itself. From an exercise standpoint, if I nail the setup, it's like the person just gives me a really good result. I use the concepts from the propulsion arc to tell me what to do with hands and arms and ankles and wrists and a humerus and a femur to give a person a zone 1 start that usually is the best possible setup to be able to execute a beginner level version of an exercise. I grade the exercise based on sensory motor competency. I allow the principles of progression to assist me with how to orient the person relative to gravity, how to be able to think of it from the perspective of putting constraints in or providing an RNT stimulus or other features that come along with that list. And I combine all these factors to be able to give me an outcome that targets the specific tissues that I'm looking to drive an adaptation into and misses the secondary side effects that I don't particularly want, such as putting an overemphasis on the non-target muscles and the connective tissues such as ligaments and structures like just having a kind of an impingement strategy of just locking bones together to be able to keep me upright. So I'm utilizing these things for very specific purposes, which is over time increasing the specific training volume of the exercises in the loads, velocities, and durations that are most conducive with moving the person towards their goals and eliminating the things that would prevent them and ultimately hinder them from going towards their goals as quickly and effectively as possible. Pillar 5 is the movement strategy pillar of expansion and compression. We've already kind of addressed these things in our discussion with pillar 4 from the propulsion arc. Expansion is when we have a helix and we pull the ends away from each other and we create a more obtuse angle of the spiral. Compression is when I push the two ends of the helix towards each other and I create more of an acute relationship of the angles of the spiral. I have the corresponding joint actions that were already referenced. As it applies to the respiratory system, I have the corresponding breathing segments that have already been mentioned. And as it applies to muscle tissue, I have the orientations and the actions that have already been mentioned. The last two pillars are the orientation pillar, which is eccentric or concentric. Eccentric is lengthened, concentric is shortened. Pillar 7 is action. I'm yielding or I'm overcoming. When I'm yielding, I'm accepting, I'm absorbing, I'm usually going in the same direction as the natural pull of gravity. With overcoming, I'm producing, I'm going against gravity. I can overcome from a eccentric orientation. I can yield from a concentric orientation. But in order to be able to get full range of yielding, I must reach an eccentric orientation of the relevant muscle tissues involved with the direction of that movement. In order to go into a full range of concentric, of overcoming range of motion, I have to get the relevant muscles to reach a concentric orientation. When I'm searching for specific adaptations, such as muscular development and hypertrophy, I feel as though the best bet for that is to allow full range of yielding motion and full range of overcoming motion, which demands that I create an eccentric orientation of the muscles that I'm looking to train, as well as a concentric orientation of the muscles that I'm looking to train. When I'm trying to create more of an elastic response and a reactive drill, I want to try to maintain a concentric orientation of the relevant muscles for the motion that I'm targeting during the yielding action. If I can yield while remaining concentric in the right muscles, I'll create a stretch on the tendons, which is going to store and release elastic energy to be able to create the necessary motion that I'm looking for. When I'm utilizing more elastic energy, it's going to correspond with things like less ground contact time, less overall look, if I can create less ground contact time, I really think that if I was to have an empirical model that I could examine running-based injuries from, I bet you could draw a nice linear relationship between time spent on the ground and likelihood of injury in the muscles that are involved with this process for the specific velocity that you're going at, okay? Because if you're going faster, you're going to have less time on the ground than if you're going slower. But if I can somehow map out like, hey, people running at 11 miles an hour, the less ground contact time that they have at 11 miles an hour, the less likely they are to be injured. I think that time on the ground is probably the most likely variable to be able to measure that would actually correspond with being able to predict likelihood of injury for something like that. The reason is because the longer that you're on the ground, elastic energy is going to be working through this amortization principle, okay? I'm going to be storing elastic energy during the yielding part of the motion. I'm going to be releasing elastic energy during the overcoming part of the motion. The problem is that elastic energy is going to be lost as heat and become non-useful from an elastic standpoint the more time is involved between the storage and release phase. So the less elastic energy I have available to power me through space as I'm running, the more I have to rely on muscular energy from a sliding filament theory, protein contractile torque sort of a phenomenon to be able to power myself through space. Elastic energy is just free. It's like free money, okay? You just bounce along on this stuff. You don't spend any of your own actual energy to utilize it. Muscular torque sliding proteins is not free money. You have to pay for that stuff. There is a greater energy cost to it. The greater energy expenditure, the greater the resulting fatigue. the greater the resulting fatigue, the more the mechanics will break down. The more the mechanics break down, you can see kind of where this is going. All right, so there are ways in which you can look at this information that are incredibly interesting from the perspective of what certain findings from research really mean. You know, we kind of have this idea that really fast people are able to create very high levels of musculotendinous stiffness. MTU stiffness is the term that's usually applied to this. You know, this is something that Stu McGill has talked about for decades. You know, when you're working with really high level athletes, they're able to create what he would call super stiffness, and you know, they're going to have more bounce to them. You know, to me, I like appreciate this, and the term stiffness, just from a definition standpoint, is explained by stiffness just refers to the extent to which something will be deformed when a force is applied to it. The stiffer an object is, the less it is deformed by any given force applied to it. If the muscle is stiffer, it doesn't deform as much. The less the muscle deforms, the more the deformation is passed on to the tendon. The more the tendon is deformed, the more elastic energy it stores and releases. But how do I actually gain this musculotendinous stiffness concept? How do I increase MTU stiffness? In my mind, the actual explanation mechanistically is that you're better at holding on to a concentric orientation of the involved muscles during the yielding action than other people are. That's kind of how. Now, some of the findings of literature also would say that resistance training is a great way to increase MTU stiffness. And it's kind of like, well, this sort of makes sense because quite honestly, like resistance training is about compressing. It really is. Like, look at the people that are the best in the world at fucking lifting weights. They're compressed and they're getting more compressed over time. You're teaching yourself how to fucking compress. Concentric orientation rides along with compression. So it's then like the single level explanation is like, yeah, everybody should just fucking lift weights then. And it's like, maybe, like, you know, it's also like I've seen plenty of people that are piss poor in the weight room that can blow me away in sprinting. So what's up with that? And it's like, well, look, like, it's how quickly you can yield. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's still this specific thing with the timing involved. Like, these individuals that are super fast but might not show you great weight room strength. I mean, there is relative strength involved. There's a lot of variables to kind of tease out of this. You know what I'm saying? But they're able to just still hold on to this level of concentric orientation and get there very fast, sequence it appropriately, and get out of there. And they're also probably people that can swing through the other phases that probably require more expansion. It's like you can get so myopic and so focused only on this one part of the overall equation of something that's got other variables and pieces involved. It's like you got so obsessed with just this time on the ground MTU phase that you missed the other parts of the legs and the arms actually swinging through space and participating in other aspects of the propulsion arc. So I want you to still be able to access both poles of these archetypes of expansion and compression. And when you lose the ability to access the expansion side because you've gone so compression crazy on the stiffness development thing through resistance training, now the ability to smoothly swing through space can be lost, which is part of the overall equation as well. So I think that that's kind of, you know, when you examine these things, you can start to zoom in really close and be able to focus on that part of stiffness and compression on the ground and being able to really create that super fast thing and not lose that concentric orientation, all that kind of stuff. But when it is involved with bigger, more dynamic things, you're like, well, shit, like this person, yeah, they can like just reactive ankle hop really well, but I get them out and run and they look like an absolute stiff. It's like they have lost access to some of these other strategies that participate in different phases of this movement. All right, so I think that overall, what this seminar is to me is page one material. So what I mean by that is I'm trying to present to you the entire backdrop of the pillars. Because it's like we have to define these things and work our way through them and understand it and all that kind of stuff. And once you do that, you can now move to these page two discussions, which come down to this, where you're like, you know, I've been really thinking about running. And like, yeah, I can see like the propulsion arc of the arms during this thing. It's like, shit, yeah, the arm is kind of like doing this sort of a deal. The legs are basically doing their own kind of a, you know, arcing phenomenon as well. You know, how do these phases really correspond to this? You know, how do I emphasize certain factors for certain individuals that they might be lacking in? You know, where are these things missing? Like I had a great conversation on the Just Fly Performance podcast, and we really got into like, you know, talking about people that get great results from squatted running training. You know, it's kind of like there's some drills where you get down low and you're running with a physio ball and you kind of keep batting the thing as you run. And it's like, this is a different sort of approach as compared to, you know, more of the vertical upright sort of a thing. And it's like, well, it might be a great way to train people who lack some of the compression elements. You know, I'm going to put them down into more dorsiflexion. I'm pronating their foot to get them down here. And it's almost like I'm keeping them in more of the compressive phases of running. And for people that need more of that, well, that's a great tool to use. For people that are already compression monsters, they might need some things that feature other phases to a greater degree. It's just that you can't have those kinds of great conversations until you've already gone through page one and understood it pretty effectively. You know, we had an intern in here, and he was driving me crazy because he had all these questions. And I was like, these questions suck. Like, I don't want to talk to you because your questions are poor right now. I was like, read this, and then you'll have better questions. And he started to. Like, you know, it was, you know, he kind of fell off, but it was like, man, like these questions, like, I don't have fucking time. I don't want to talk about this topic. It's a waste of time right now. Like, so if people can work through this, I really do think it leads to such better conversation. Like, look, like I do all of this just because I want to have better fucking conversations with better people overall, for the most part. Like, what the hell else is there in life? You know, you meet cool people, you train fucking super hard, relax when you're going to relax, have great conversations about super cool fucking shit involved with training and eating and whatever the fuck else it is that we do, and keep making it better progressively. And it's like, if you're not good at making friends, like, make friends the way you want them to be with the fucking information that you're putting out into the world. Like, just make your friends, literally. Is that wrong? Like, no. Yeah. So that's kind of day one recap. Before we do the workout, I had a question about the propulsion arc, and you know, it's always, to me, it's like, do I want to get into the propulsion arc and the breathing stuff before the workout or after the workout? I think I want to do it before because I'm kind of focused on it. We'll sort of, again, this is sort of the thinking fast and slow. Like, I need you to get into system 2, lock in, focus on this stuff. And then after that, we're going to have more of the workout so you can sort of see this on in a flowing sort of environment. But we can probably remember this stuff. I've done this before. I can remember it. Knee dominant, horizontal push, core thorax. Somebody wants to screenshot that or something. We'll come back to this for the workout. Boom. Because this is the conversation where we can get into the propulsion arc and explain more fact, because it's like, to me, I sort of drew it out yesterday. And, oh, that's a terrible line. Wow. That's, bro, that is your best chirp, maybe ever. See, you hang out with the right people, you get better, Luke. Yeah. So we're going to talk first about, we'll say that this is the upper extremity. So we're talking about this arcing line here, and I don't know if it's easier to see it there. I'll stand this way so you can just see it's going to represent humeral flexion. So here's my hand, and my hand is traveling along this line as it goes from 0 degrees down at the bottom to 180 at the top, 90 in the middle, 60 and 120 at the dashed lines. We got the peak of compression right there, and we have basically the peak of expansion there and there. So this is really kind of explaining the mechanisms that are involved with someone who can actually effectively, competently raise their arm from being down by their side to all the way overhead without compensation, which you don't meet too many people that can actually do that, all right? Especially when you start measuring shoulders, you're like, wow, fuck. Maybe I shouldn't be overhead pressing too many people here. That might not be good for business over time. They're like, I don't know why they're having problems. Well, they can't really get to those positions authentically. So down here, it's like, what allows me to be able to kind of move my arm between 0 and 60, and like what's expanding in this expansion zone that allows this to take place? And the answer, this sort of ties in with breathing very much here. So expansion is kind of an inhale-based concept, and when we talk about inhalation, we're talking about filling specific zones of the lung. And when I inhale, I talked about this yesterday, like if I'm filling a glass with water, I fill the bottom first before I can fill the top. It has to go that way. There's no other way to do it. If I'm standing upright and I'm inhaling air, I fill the bottom of my lung first with air, and then I progressively fill higher compartments of the lung from there. So you have to be able to get effective lower posterior lung expansion and inhalation to be able to move your arm through zone 1 authentically. So have you ever really encountered anybody that's like, you know what my problem is? I just can't fucking move my arm from here to here. Like, never really happens. Like, nobody's ever like, yeah, just the thing that really I can grab glasses out of the top shelf and I can put light bulbs in all day, but I just can't fucking hold the dog leash. Like down here is really the problem. Like, nobody's ever complained about this. It's not usually the problem. Like, we're gaining enough expansion for the most part to make this pretty decent. All right, but that doesn't mean you're doing a great job with it either. You're getting enough to be able to function down here, but you're probably not building a big enough foundation at the bottom of your pool to be able to have really good filling above it. So when you look at the anatomy of the lung, like basically the most bottom part of the lung is the backside of the lung. There's like a little triangle that's right on the bottom of the lung on the backside. The backside of the lung is a little bit lower compared to the front side of the lung just by design. So the absolute bottom of it is in the posterior part of the lungs. That's the part I'm trying to fill adequately to be able to create best case scenario zone 1 expansion. And to me, I always kind of go back to this whole swinging a golf club talk of like, if you're going to get a great golf swing, make your setup as good as you possibly can. If you're going to be able to move your arms really effectively, make your setup as good as you possibly can. Spend more time on zone 1 filling than you think you need to. All right? So when I think about this, I'm thinking about it from the perspective of being able to kind of get air in right here. When I think about the biggest problems that you're going to encounter with coaching people and not having people not move well, excessive posterior compression at the level of where zone 1 expansion should take place is about as big a problem as you're going to see. Just people that are compressed down low. You're going to have two places of posterior compression that are going to be problematic: the bottom and the top, up here and down here. And if you're judging people based on standing posture and thinking you've got it nailed because they're in a fucking plumb line, you're so far off base from being able to have this stuff figured out, it's not even fun. Throw your plumb line right in the toilet. Flush it a couple of times. It's about as useful as a big pile of shit anyways. So I need to get this expansion posteriorly at the bottom of the lungs. That is zone 1. If I get enough, I'll be able to swing my arms from here to here pretty effectively. But if I'm not getting enough, it's not going to give me the right kind of foundation to establish a really good zone 2 and zone 3 level of thoracic competency to be able to really reach the top of arm action. So I fill the bottom of my lung, I create posterior expansion of this lowest part of the back of the lung that gives me access to zone 1 arm action, and then I continue to fill the lungs up from there. Now, I get to this mid-back zone, basically at the level of where the sternum is and where the thoracic spine is. And this is the region where, and when I'm talking about these things, I'm referring to what's happening on the back side of the body, okay? Zone 1 is about creating posterior expansion. So if I'm thinking about a spine and I'm thinking about the bottom of the lung, I'm creating an expansion force backwards at zone 1. When I get up to zone 2, I'm creating a compression force at that point, okay? So it's like the forces in zone 1 are going this way. The forces in zone 2 are going this way. All right, I have my lordotic lumbar curve, and then I get up to this kyphotic thoracic curve. And if I hold a really good shape there, it allows me to basically use this as like a wall that I can build pressure off of and direct that pressure forward. And if I direct that pressure forward appropriately enough, what I end up doing is creating an up pump handle response on the sternum. It's not like I'm allowing my thoracic spine to cave in. It's more that it's maintaining and holding shape, and from there, creating a pressure response that goes forward so that I inflate. I'm creating anterior expansion in zone 2. I'm basically creating kind of an anterior compression in zone 1 to allow for posterior expansion in zone 1. I'm creating posterior compression in zone 2 to create anterior compression in anterior expansion in zone 2 at the sternum. I create good up pump handle mechanics at the level of the sternum in zone 2, and I continue to inflate from there. And in zone 3, I'm going to expand this upper dorsal space of my lungs, okay? And that is really the main piece that creates zone 3 expansion. Just the upper back at this level of kind of thoracocervical junction has an expansive posterior force of air filling in the lungs, driving that space into a greater position of moving posteriorly. At the level of the pelvis, so I can't really get a full 180 degrees of humeral flexion unless it's posterior expansion at the lowest parts of the lung, anterior expansion at the level of the sternum to up pump handle it, and posterior expansion at the level of the cervicothoracic junction levels of lungs. if I'm going to talk about the femur moving through space, it's almost the same conversation. It's just that it can't really get to a full 180 of femoral flexion. We're going to get somewhere between 150 and 160. But it's still the same zones. 0 to 60 degrees of femoral flexion is going to be zone 1. When I get to 90 degrees, it's going to be zone 2. When I get past 90 degrees and upwards and beyond 120, it's going to be zone 3. What's expanding and what's compressing at the level of the pelvis? And how does this take place? You're like, what do you mean? Like, you're not breathing air down into your pelvis. That doesn't make sense. Okay? Well, here's kind of where the conversation goes at this point. And I'm going to start off with some stuff we can all agree upon and then build off of that. And hopefully the logic train makes sense and we can see the connections between these things. First statement that I think everybody's going to be able to agree on really effectively. When I inhale, the diaphragm is going to go into a domed position. All right? I'm sorry, the diaphragm is going to descend. The diaphragm leaves its domed position. Okay? So I'm going to inhale. Here's my diaphragm, and it's going to descend and flatten. When the diaphragm descends and flattens, what it does is it creates more space in the thoracic cavity. It increases the volume of the thoracic cavity. When I increase the volume of the thoracic cavity, there is a decrease in pressure inside the thoracic cavity. The pressure decreases inside the lungs to a point where it's lower than the ambient environment. And whenever the pressure is lower in the lungs than the ambient environment, air moves down its pressure gradient from outside the body to inside the body, and it moves into the lungs and inflates the lungs. That's the most basic statement you can make regarding breathing. Inhalation, diaphragm flattens and leaves a dome position. It descends and it occupies more space in the abdominal cavity. When it occupies more space in the abdominal cavity, what it's going to be doing is it's going to be pushing the visceral fluids and the guts downwards. When the diaphragm occupies this space inside the abdominal cavity and it pushes the guts and the visceral fluids inferiorly, that stuff has to go somewhere, okay? And that somewhere is that it begins to occupy more space inside the pelvis. I'm literally pushing fluid and guts downwards into the pelvis when I inhale due to the displacement of the diaphragm. When I push guts and fluid from the abdominal space down into the lower abdominal space and pelvic bowl, the pelvic bones have to move to be able to accommodate and accept the guts and the fluids that are being pushed down into that space. With breathing and inhalation, there are stereotypical movements that correspond with the inhalation phase and the exhalation phase in terms of the bones of your body. We're very familiar with this stuff at the level of the ribs. When I inhale, the anatomical motions that will come with any anatomy and physiology textbook are that the sternum will up pump handle and the infrasternal ribs will bucket handle up. When I exhale, the sternum will down pump handle and the infrasternal ribs will bucket handle down. You can find that in any anatomy textbook. It's breathing 101 anatomically. Here's my infrasternal ribs. I inhale, bucket handle up. I exhale, bucket handle down. Here's my sternum. I inhale, pump handle up. I exhale, pump handle down. Corresponding stereotypical movements associated with respiration. When I inhale and I pump handle up and I bucket handle up, my diaphragm descends. I push fluids down. This is where you would see a belly breath because I've got more fluid expanding downwards into my abdomen and it's being pushed downwards into my pelvis. If you know shit about shit, you know that an excessive belly breath ain't the show because it means your pelvis isn't moving nearly enough to be able to accommodate these fluids that are moving down into that area. You're just allowing kind of like a lazy, excessively compensatory expansive strategy to just take place in the abdominal tissues rather than allowing expansion to actually move all the way down into the pelvis. The movements of the pelvic bones that correspond to the inhalation phase are that I'm here's my pelvis, here's my innominates, here's my sacrum. My diaphragm descends, it pushes all of this mass down into the pelvis. The pelvis needs to move to accommodate this stuff. It basically builds a bigger bowl to accept all the fluid being moved down into it. The movement of the innominate is referred to as nutation, so it's going to move like this. The movement of the sacrum is counternutation, so it moves like this. When the innominate nutates, it's going into flexion, abduction, external rotation. When the sacrum counternutates, the top tips back, the bottom tips forward. That's the general movements that take place. These are not giant amounts of movement, by the way. We're talking 3 or 4 degrees. It's just like I'm trying to show it so it's going to look bigger. But 3 or 4 degrees at the level of those bones is major stuff. It's kind of like at the top of Mount Everest, 3 or 4 feet is probably a big fucking deal compared to 3 or 4 feet just walking around at sea level. This is the rarefied air of movement, not the chump change stuff. Don't get caught up in just like, oh, it's such a small amount of movement, doesn't fucking matter. No, every foot counts at the top of Mount Everest. Inhalation, guts pushed down. We have to accept them. The pelvic floor is going to descend. The diaphragm descends in the thorax on the inhalation. The pelvic floor diaphragm descends during an inhalation to accept the movement of the fluids in the guts that goes down into it. Okay? This is the stereotypical pelvic response to the inhalation phase. During exhalation, I have the opposite take place. Here's my inhale. I'll show it from the perspective of thoracic diaphragm, pelvic diaphragm. I inhale, I pump fluid down. I accept it down into the pelvic floor. I just got into an eccentric orientation of the pelvic floor. It's expanded, it's inhaled, it's all of those things. I got into, and I have seen my sternum pump handle up. I've seen my infrasternal ribs bucket handle up. I've seen my innominates nutate, which is flexion, abduction, external rotation. I've seen my sacrum counternutate. Those are the stereotypical actions. On the exhalation, the pelvic floor goes from a eccentric position and it pumps back up into a concentric position. It's going to begin pushing fluids back superiorly. I'm pushing the fluids out of my pelvis at this point in time, and the pelvis corresponds with bony actions of the sacrum nutating and the innominate counternutating. The counternutation of the innominate is extension, adduction, and internal rotation. The fluid from the pelvis returns back up through the abdominal cavity, and that fluid pushing back up is going to push the diaphragm back into its domed position. That's how we dome the diaphragm during the exhalation phase. I pump the fluids from the bottom up back into that structure, and I send that parachute jellyfish-looking motherfucker back up into its dome state. The doming of it is going to occupy more space inside the thoracic cavity. And by occupying more space inside the thoracic cavity, I increase the pressure of gas in the thoracic cavity to the point where the pressure inside is greater than the pressure outside in the world, and the air moves down its concentration gradient, this time from inside the body to outside the body. It's a beautiful thing. It's such a simplistic model in many ways. but it really helps to understand the ways in which the thorax and the pelvis are tied together from a movement function and a respiratory function, from an expansion strategy and a compression strategy. And if you can't move your femur adequately through space, something's missing in terms of the complete filling and expansion and compression. Either you can't fully fill the pelvis with the amount of volume of fluid that it needs to be filled with for full expansion, or you can't empty the pelvis of the fluid that occupied it for full compression. That should be like, oh snap. Whoa, hold on one sec, okay? Now the question is, to be able to swing this femur, what's expanding at the pelvis here? What's compressing here? What's expanding here? And I will be going back to the thorax and clarifying a couple of things as well, okay? Just let me get through this before you ask your question, because hopefully it gets answered anyways. So zone 1, swinging of a femur. Like, what's happening here? I got to fill the bottom before I can fill anything else. What's the bottom of the pelvis? It's the coccyx, okay? I need to create posterior expansion into the coccyx as the first thing that takes place with pelvic filling. So it's a posterior directed force, boom, that pushes the coccyx back. Now I can begin to fill more of the pelvis with fluid from there. I get to this midpoint of the pelvis, the greatest part of the sacral kyphotic curve right here. And I maintain this beautiful kyphotic shape of the sacrum at that point. And if I do that, it creates a pressure wave that goes forward. And what happens when I create this pressure wave that goes forward? It basically up pump handles the pubis. I create anterior expansion at the level of the pubis in zone 2. If I can create a good enough version of that, I continue to fill the pelvis. And I can, in zone 3 is where I'm creating a posterior expansion at the topmost part of the sacrum. I'm creating a force that's kind of pushing that sucker backwards. All right? That's kind of like what I think of as this sort of counter-nutation sort of a force that's taking place there. If I can create that, I'll get full flexion of a femur. Now, here's the other cool stuff that I try to kind of wait for with this particular time. So let me first tell you about zone 2, all right, because it's going to make the comparison between the innominate bones and the scapula very clear. During zone 1, what's the primary thing that's moving? Like, let's talk about the arms first. The primary thing that's moving during zone 1 to flex the humerus is the fucking humerus. 0 to 60 degrees of humeral flexion is humeral action. 60 to 120 degrees of humeral flexion. What's the primary moving thing during that part of humeral flexion? Pop quiz. The scapula, bang! What movement are we getting out of the scapula? Upward rotation. Look it up in any fucking textbook, kinesiology book. All right? 60 to 120 degrees of humeral flexion is driven by the movement of the scapula. And the movement of the scapula is upward rotation. 0 to 60 degrees of femoral flexion is driven by the femur. 60 to 120 degrees of femoral flexion, what do you think is moving, the primary moving agent during that time? The innominate. What action am I creating at the innominate to move 60 to 120 degrees of femoral flexion? The other one, I'm going to be creating extension, adduction, and IR because it's zone 2. It's compression. Let's look at the scapula again. 60 to 120 degrees of humeral flexion. upward rotation, right? That's what you can picture in your head. I said yesterday, you're just a bunch of pelvises, okay? This is your innominates, just we're no longer quadrupeds. It's easier to see with a quadruped animal, okay? But the quadruped has a pelvis here and a pelvis here. It walks around like that, all right? Our thoracic pelvis, you know, you can see this relationship between scaps and innominates, all right? Look at upward rotation. It's kind of like I'll represent my scaps with my hands, and my thumbs, when I upwardly rotate, they move in radial deviation direction, basically. I'm going to take my scaps and I'm going to move them from my thorax down to my pelvis. I'm still going to move in radial deviation. Do you see how that is counternutation of an innominate? And that counternutation of an innominate is extension, adduction, and internal rotation? If you can see that, then you truly understand compression at the level of the axial skeleton. Not just the fucking appendicular skeleton, which is really easy to see. But you can begin to see it now at the axial skeleton, which is the fucking show. 60 to 120 degrees of femoral flexion, counternutation, compression dominant zone 2. Extension, adduction, internal rotation, peak of compression, baby. All the compression joint actions. I just pronated my innominate. Whatever. Same fucking movement to be able to create upward rotation. We could just call upward rotation extension, adduction, and internal rotation of the scapula. But we don't. We just call it fucking upward rotation. I don't know why. That's the primary agent that moves you through zone 2. If I can hold shape of my kyphotic thoracic spine and drive a pressure wave forward into my sternum and up pump handle it, I'll give myself the opportunity to display upward rotation of the scapula. Why the fuck is that? This is the $1 million question. If anybody's got the answer to this one, I'll fucking do some favors for you and shit. What is it about holding on to this shape back here at the thoracic spine and driving this pressure wave forward here for the sternum to up pump handle? What is it about this that allows this to be able to take place from a shape perspective?
Like resting potential?
No. I like it. If you keep going with this, I'll give you a handy in the bathroom after.
So I got to think about this.
Yeah, that's a big time offer.
So
Don't worry about it.
it doesn't lose any force flying across the ribs.
Tell me about the shape of the ribs.
C-shape, that's C-shape, right?
Kind of.
Are you looking for like a caption type thing? It's like scapulothoracic rhythm.
That's kind of one of these terms that somebody would put on it. Well, what you're lacking here, let's see, is going to be, you got scapulohumeral dyskinesis. Thanks, doc. Couldn't fucking figure out that my shit wasn't moving right. It's the dumbest term ever. Bad moving scapulas and humerus. Whoa, ho, ho, that's useful. Could you tell me anything more ambiguous and less specific? That's what we're trying to accomplish. What is it about this sort of of a drive of pressure and force that would allow me to be able to do that easier? What direction is the pressure and forces going in that I'm talking about here? Holding onto this thoracic curve. Is it lateral pushing or is it A to P pushing? It's A to P pushing. I need to create this good solid A to P push so that I can continue to keep my thorax pushed that way. Because if it just stays pushed in this way, I'm just pushed wide here in the middle. Like, think about the scapula as a car and the rib cage as the road it's trying to drive on. All right, now, there's nothing wrong with the fucking car usually. It's usually a fucked up road that's the problem. So if I have, here's my sternum, here's my thoracic spine. If it's pushed together like an accordion front to back, it's going to push everything else side to side farther out. It's going to make, like, here's the shape of the ribs as they kind of should be, which is sort of round like a barrel. If this crushes in this way, it's going to take this barrel shape and it's going to just push it flat and wide and make it a longer, flatter, farther road to traverse, rather than having it being kind of shaped like this. So if I have an easier shape to move around, you're gonna get the same amount of scapular motion. Okay? It's almost never the scapula's fault. It's like, bro, I moved fucking 6 inches like you wanted me to move. It's just that I needed to move 8 inches in order to get where you wanted me to get for trying to create your upward overhead reach. If you could have just made the distance 6 inches by reforming the ribs into the right shape, you would have been fine. It's not my fucking fault. So if this is collapsed inwards here, it's a longer, wider, flatter road to move around. I need to reform the road to be shorter and rounder to be able to drive the car where you're trying to get.
So we're missing the boat when we're trying to say, like, don't flare the ribs in the overhead position because you're actually pushing backwards and not letting it.
That's a way that you accomplish it because you pseudo up pump handle your sternum, which is what you need to do. I'm saying it's compensatory. I'm saying it's a method, but it's not first tier method. It's like, well, I can't really access that anymore, so I'm not going to take the right road, but I guess I can fucking hack my way through this jungle with a machete. It's going to be long and sticky and shitty, and I'll probably get snake bit along the way. Here's what I want to picture with this road and car analogy, okay? I'm going to drive from New York to Southern California. I'm probably going to have to go through the Rocky Mountains at some point, okay? Because the Rocky Mountains are pushed up out of the ground. Like, imagine if somebody came along, they were big enough and strong enough, and they were like, you know what? I'm going to push these motherfuckers straight down. I'm pushing all the Rocky Mountains down into the ground. And they got to go somewhere, right? And they're going to just push down, and they're going to actually spread the earth apart. And I just made the distance now from New York to Southern California even farther. And you're like, fuck, this is already the worst drive ever. And now I got another fucking 600 miles to go because some guy fucking stepped on the Rocky Mountains and flattened those motherfuckers out. The problem wasn't the car. The problem was somebody just changed the shape of the terrain because it used to be going up this way and now it's going down this way and it spread it out even farther. So that's kind of what I picture here with that. Somebody created A to P compression on the Rocky Mountains and made your drive farther. It would be a hell of a lot easier if somebody could just create some lateral compression on the continent and be able to send it up, and then I just have to go over this one hill and I'm fucking there. Imagine that. So the primary point here is zone 2 is fucking compression. What am I compressing? I'm compressing the innominate at the level of the pelvis. I'm compressing the scapula at the level of the thorax so that I get movement of the humerus and femur. Now let's talk about zone 3, okay? At the level of the pelvis, I've created coccyx posterior expansion. I've created innominate compression to help drive a pressure wave forward out of the midpoint of the sacrum to up pump handle the pubis. And now I'm continuing to fill, and I want to create posterior expansion at the top of the sacrum. If I can do that just a little bit and push that thing back, you know what happens is I create the perfect relationship between L5 and S1. And what is that relationship? Okay. Here's the top of the sacrum. Here's the bottom of the lumbar vertebrae. If I can just push this back a little bit, I allow for the fifth lumbar vertebrae to be able to fall forward and to be able to create the beginning of the lumbar lordosis. At the top of the thorax, if I can get here's my top thoracic vertebrae, here's my bottom cervical vertebrae. If I can just push this one back a little bit, it makes the bottom cervical vertebrae fall forward a little bit. It creates the flexion moment that drives the origins of cervical lordosis. If I can expand the top of the sacrum posterior, I create the flexion moment of L5, which creates the origins of lumbar lordosis. And if I can create expansion at the top of this thoracic chain, I give a flexion moment to C7, which gives me the origins of cervical lordosis. It's literally the fucking origins of a human spine that separates us from a chimpanzee spine. It is this, the setup, the start is the all-important thing. If you don't have a lordotic cervical spine, it ain't rotating, it ain't turning, you're not getting shoulder flexion, you're not getting ER, you're not getting expansion, you're not getting anything. You're going to be compressed, compressed, compressed in these critical areas of the top of the sacrum and the top of the thorax. And this is what we refer to really as lower posterior compression and upper posterior compression. And if you've got those things, you got yourself a straight spine and you got a one-way ticket to Chimpville. You're not going to have competency in these higher order movements. You're going to be a stiff in some way, shape, or form, or you're going to be a lava lamp in some way, shape, or form. You lost access to one pole of the archetype of expression or the other. Look, breathing is a big fucking deal. It's just, to me, breathing just ain't about moving air in one direction or the other. It's this overall essence of expansion and compression. Plantar flexion helps me to be able to create posterior expansion at the top of the sacrum, to be able to create the origins of a lumbar lordosis. Plantar flexion helps me to create posterior expansion at the level of the top of the thorax so that I can create the origins of cervical lordosis. Those things allow me to be more human authentically and to give me access to all the available movements associated with full human expansion, full human compression. That's the fucking show from a theoretical standpoint behind this model. What I like about this model, it keeps feeding into itself. The more you understand it, the more you understand it. I feel like I drive myself crazy, probably drive other people crazy when you hear me say, expansion feeds more expansion, compression feeds more compression. But it does. The model itself feeds itself, and it kind of grows stronger the more that you understand it. And the more that you understand it, the more you can manipulate exercises. The more you can manipulate exercises, you know what kind of result you're driving in the person that you're working with. You understand why it's important, and you understand how to magnify it and continue it, and you can begin to understand when it's not working, why it's not working. What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, give people a chance to use the bathroom, give people a chance to get a drink, whatever it is. After the break, we're going to begin our workout here for beginners. What I don't have as of yet are people that are going to go through this workout. Now, I want to know, does anybody actually feel like legitimately pretty competent and pretty skilled when it comes to some of these movement things? I don't know, Brady, do you feel like you're pretty good at this stuff at this point? Like, maybe. I'm going to need somebody to do the advanced workout at the end, which is no fucking joke. I don't know where you feel you're at. You feel pretty good about doing that stuff. I feel like it's going to be one of you two that's going to take that one, or maybe even both. I haven't done this with two people. Actually, I think that's going to be cool. All right. So I'm going to exclude you two from this first one. Okay. Does anybody feel like, you know what? I really don't know this stuff too well. Okay. Like, haven't really been that familiar with this model. I'm not necessarily the best mover. Like, if you are, and because I don't know you two guys necessarily. Like, I don't know where you're at, but that makes you better for me to potentially utilize during this first one. I don't know if you guys are comfortable doing a workout or not. If you're not, like, you don't have to say it now. I'm just thinking that, okay? I don't know where other people are at in terms of if anybody wants to do this first workout, this beginner workout. You're good with it? You're good with it? You're good? I got 3, I got 4. Okay, going once, going twice, sold. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. You guys are going to be my 4 for this first workout, which it's 10:52 right now. We'll start it at 11. That clock just fucks me up because it's an hour fast, and then it gives me military time, and I'm like, God, nobody knows how to work it. We're going to start this at 11 o'clock. I'm going to run to the bathroom first, take advantage of. I'm going to take this off. Yeah. Imagine that. Oh, yeah.
Dude, that would be
You gotta bust up the squatty potty.
I didn't break it.
I forgot.
can you ask them for a mic check?
Yeah, can you guys hear this?
Yes.
Okay.
Please don't ear rape everybody.
I was just trying to recreate like every noise from every playground and every horror movie ever.
Just saying stop.
Yeah, oh, it's a horror. Yeah, I'm sure that was terrible. So we'll get started if we recording, we're good to go, the whole deal. Who does me? Fuck.
On the camera.
You know?
Damn. You get one free monster.
So, we're going to get into, oh, I'll stop fucking touching that thing and making it speak. My bad. We'll get into this part of it, which is going to be the workout. Before I do that, I always try to preface this. I know we have a question. If you want to tell me what that is first, Diego, and then.
When people habitually adopt elastic strategies during lifts, do you see that as a lack of yielding strength or simply a preferred lower cost strategy for the task at hand, parentheses the lift?
Oof, that's a loaded question. Okay, so I was trying to process the beginning of the question and then it kept going. It was something about when people overutilize elastic strategies and then something about them lifting and what's a good idea for them while they're lifting.
Yeah, elastic strategies during the lifts, is that a lack of yielding strength or are they just using a lower cost strategy for the lift?
Well, I mean, number one, I would say that this is like a complicated question that I would probably have to like sit down with and think about and kind of map out to answer it. I like the question from just the thought process of this is clearly somebody that's thinking about it, that's trying to apply this stuff. And I'm always perfectly willing to be like, well, I don't really know, to tell you the truth. Sometimes it's like when I think about somebody that uses an elastic strategy to lift with, it's like somebody that drops down fast into a squat and bounces out of it. Okay. And I'm like, well, that could be good and it might not be great. I don't know. This is why, I really do think along the lines of like a Seneca-based thought process of like mechanistically, like I said, with like, I will tell you what I think I understand mechanistically, but I try not to overdrink my own Kool-Aid with this stuff because ultimately I don't know. I don't fucking see inside the pelvis. Best we have is like images. Somebody was showing me kind of like, hey, here's this cool diagram or x-ray of while somebody's breathing. It's like, hey, we're beginning to be able to look inside and see these kind of dynamic movements and all this sort of stuff. But ultimately, it's like, I don't fully know. This is my best ability to comprehend this and tell you what I think is happening. But I don't know. And so that's why I try to create these sensory motor competencies. They're my best attempt at being able to say, I think that if you hit these things, you're going to be getting the results that you're after. And I think Luke said it. It was like the smartest thing Luke's ever said. It was like the sensory to intensity continuum. And it's like as intensity rises, the sensory component drops off. And at that point, it's like you're really judging it based on the motor piece, or you can evaluate it after the fact. Like you can do a post hoc analysis of like the sensory experience because it's almost like, and what I mean by that is it's like later on, you can be like, hey, where are you sore? And you're like, abs are fucking sore as hell, like hamstrings, glutes. You're like, okay, I think that's a good indicator from a sensory perspective that we were training the right tissues. But as someone goes faster or as someone's lifting more weights, it's like I'm not trying to have them really think about and focus on their sensory experience at that point. Or maybe it'll be a different sort of sensory experience where I'll tell them like, I want you to feel light, or I want you to feel strong, or I want you to feel, there's a lot of different feelings, but it's like less somatosensory, I would say, is probably the big key. So, and this is kind of like from a principal progression standpoint, I'm going to probably start you on the sensory side of the sensory to intensity continuum. It's not in the thing yet, it's almost too new or something that I think is really a cool idea. And I think it's very applicable here. So when something's really fast, oftentimes you're not going to feel it, okay? And it's almost like, well, I don't, like if I'm working with this person, I wouldn't have ever started them there. I would have started them slower. And I would have built them out of this sensory motor competent level 1 kind of a knee dominant exercise that just would not have featured like a bouncing elastic kind of a thing. Like, you're going to see what I'm going to do with people here is I'm going to put a metronome on. There's going to be tempo, and they're going to like suffer in the squat, and it's going to be like an opportunity for me to come over and really coach them because they're going slow enough to feel things and for me to position them and to learn it. So it's kind of like, when I think about the question, I think about it as being, if I'm uncertain about where this person's at, that's showing me this really high level elastic thing, it's almost like I don't know where they started. I don't have the beginning information about this person to be able to give any kind of an educated response here. And if I was working with the person, I think I would ensure that I never even had this question to begin with the approach that I recommend. So I hope that while being not a mechanistically specific answer for this person, I hope that it's a logistically useful answer for this person. So the other thing that I just want to say before we get into this workout part is I try to keep this constrained to a 1-hour block. And I also try to make this as realistic as possible. So I always say to the audience, I don't think it's going to be a problem with you guys, but I just say, like, you know, for me, I get highly distracted with background conversation when I'm trying to coach. It's something that I find irritating, and it pulls me away from being able to focus on what I'm doing. So while I'm coaching with this part of it, I would request that just keep it like a fishbowl, like where you're just looking in, you're watching, and you're not even really part of it at this point. Like, I won't be answering questions from the live audience during it because I want you to see this as close to a real experience of me just working with people as we could possibly get. It's artificial, but the closer we can get it to being the real deal, the better. I won't answer online questions during it, but that's not really a big deal. But you know, when I work with, and if I could get my 4 volunteers to come out just so I kind of know who I'm working with here. You know, when I'm working with you guys, I'm going to be acting like I've never met you. You are 14-year-old kids that are coming in. I'm going to play as if that's what I'm dealing with here. So that's the attitude that I'm going to try to bring to this. I'm going to be focusing on a lot of things that aren't necessarily biomechanics driven too, you know, because I think about day one with a group of 14-year-old kids and I say to myself, you know, the biggest thing is probably to get you guys to feel comfortable here. I can remember going for a ski lesson when I was 36 years old, and it was the first time I'd ever gone skiing, and so uncomfortable with the experience. The biggest problem with it was nobody told me that you're supposed to wear long socks under the ski boots. I didn't know, like nobody mentioned this to me. So I had ankle socks on, and I got second-degree burns on my left shin from the boot irritation. And like I spent the next 2 weeks, like every time I would get out of bed, I'd pull the sheet off and it would take my shin with it. And it was just like, oh, fuck. And I had to go out the second day for more lessons, and I paid for them, so I was fucking going, okay? And it was just like torture. So, and I just remember being like, it was me and like 12-year-olds, and I was like, fuck. And they were all like kids that had like skateboarded or something. So they were like really good and quick at being able to pick it up. And the guy's like, hey, I'm going to need you to show me the fucking pizza. And I was like, I literally have no femoral IR. Like, I just don't have access to that joint action. Like, I didn't say it that way because there's no way this fucking dude would have understood it. But I'm like, buddy, can we try a different move? Because I understand what you're saying. I can't do it. And then it was just like very off-putting. The whole experience got fucked up. And I just remember feeling so out of my element and so intimidated by it and helpless and hopeless. And I was like, this is a great lesson to learn for people coming to the gym. And the most important thing I can do is to make the experience one that is as pleasant an interaction as I possibly can. And that means like getting to know you, getting to know your names, having you get to know each other, getting to know each other's names. Those are really big outcomes that I'm shooting for with something like this. And it's like, it partly with the constraints of I'm going to be timing things and I'm going to be using a metronome in some ways so that I can control the conversation and the way in which we're sharing information back and forth. That's an outcome I'm looking for that I still apply the same principles of this model towards. It's just that people wouldn't initially think like, oh, this is a constraint that's being used. I'm still driving better biomechanics because I'm not going to let you interrupt the coaching by doing whatever the fuck 14-year-old boys are going to do, which is probably going to be distract themselves on their phones, feel uncomfortable, try to, childish bullshit and jokes and things like that. Like, you can constrain those things with the right implementation of procedures and logistical design. And that's what I'm going to try to demonstrate and implement with this. So the workout that we're going to go through structurally is going to be, the warm-up will begin with mock drills, M-A-C-H. Those are from Gerard Mock, who was a track and field coach. And, these are things that have been vetted, they're tried, they're true. They're going to work the arm action and leg action and body position pieces that I really want with running mechanics. After we work these mock drills, we'll move over and we're going to run on the treadmill with tempo runs where we hold onto the front of the treadmill. Following the tempo runs, we're going to come back here. We've got a series of A exercises and B exercises. A1 was a knee dominant exercise. It's going to be heel elevated goblet squat. A2 is a horizontal push. It's going to be that Kaiser chest press right over there. And A3 is going to be a plank on the wall, which is going to be right over there. All right. So we're going to let you guys kind of revolve through this stuff, and we'll have a tempo metronome going, and we'll also have a timer for when you're doing your plank. B's are B1 and B2, and it was hip dominant and vertical pull. The vertical pull, we're going to switch out the attachment on that lat pull down. We're going to put in a different attachment. We're going to do lat pull downs on that cable machine over there. And the hip dominant exercise, we actually didn't talk about. Somehow we missed this at the end of the day yesterday. We didn't really decide on our hip dominant exercise. The hip dominant exercise is going to be a cable pull through that will use the functional trainer in the back to perform. And we're going to have a toes elevated cable pull through being done as the first exercise we're doing with that particular pattern. So we'll get started. If Luke, would you mind? I left a bottle of water up at the front. That would be great if you could grab that for me. And once I get that, we'll get started with you guys. And once we start, it's like game on. This is a real deal training session. Thank you. So 1, 2, 3, here we go. All right, guys, I'm Coach Pat. I'm going to be working with you today. If you guys could just kind of line up right here in front of me, that'd be amazing. First thing is, guys, I just want to get your names for me. So if we could go from my right to my left, if you could just introduce yourself. Joe, nice to meet you. I'm Pat. Eric? Yeah. Eric, I'm Pat. Frankie, I'm Pat. Nice to meet you. Kyle, I'm Pat. Nice to meet you. Kyle, do you remember his name down here? That's my name. That's okay. Can you tell him what your name is again? Joe. Joe, that's Kyle. Okay. Kyle, do you remember his name?
Eric.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Eric, Kyle, Eric. So we have, going back to the beginning again, we got Eric, and well, what about the beginning guy? You forgot about him again, man. Like, what's going on? Like, Joe, Eric, Frankie. Joe, Eric, Frankie. You remember his name? Last guy? Kyle. Yeah. What's his name? Joe. What's his name? Frankie. Frankie, what's his name? Joe. And what's his name? And what's his name? I think we've kind of covered it, but I'm going to keep asking you guys your names. We're going to make sure we get them. We've got Joe, Eric, Frankie, Kyle. I'm Pat. We're going to have a great workout. It's a pleasure to meet you guys today. I hope we have a lot of fun. We're not going to do anything too crazy today, guys. It's day one. We're going to make sure that the weights we lift are safe. We're going to make sure that the way we run is done properly. I want to teach you a bunch of things that are going to be really helpful for helping you as an athlete and getting better at the sports that you play. So I want to start with some of the most important things. And you guys have probably heard like speed kills, right? Like if you're faster, you're probably going to dominate in the sports that you play. And we're going to start off with working some of the mechanics associated with running. So we're going to have Joe and Eric be a team, and we're going to have Frankie and Kyle be a team. You guys you're going to be partner one, partner two, partner one, partner two. So guys, the first thing we're going to do with running is we're going to kind of explore like the motions that we're going to do with the arms, and we're going to explore some of the motions that we do with the legs, and then we're going to put them together. All right, so I'm going to have partner one. You guys are going to sit on the ground for me first. And partner two, just kind of watch because you're going to be doing the same thing in a second. So partner one, like first thing we want to do, sit with your legs straight out in front of you the same way that Joe's doing here and get nice and tall, okay? And now we're going to have one hand out in front of us and the other down by the side. Like we're going to do something that's called kind of going from cheek to cheek in terms of height. You got these cheeks, you got these cheeks. So one hand is down at the same height as these butt cheeks. The other hand is out in front of you at the same height as the face cheeks. And I want you to just switch, okay? And we're going to keep switching, and we'll gradually just kind of fluidly go a little faster and faster and faster. Now, as you're doing this, what I want you to think about are just a couple things. Keep it going, keep staying tall, keep looking forward. And if your hand, as it's coming up to the cheeks on your face, I want it to kind of be in front of your nose in terms of left and right. Just bring it towards the midline. That's really nice. And we're going to do this for another 10 seconds or so. You're bringing that hand up in front of you. It's in front of you rather than out to the side. And it shouldn't be too close to you either. We're going to stop in 3, 2, 1, break and switch. Partner twos are going to be in. We have Eric, we have Kyle. So you guys are going to do the same thing. You're sitting with your legs out in front of you, nice and tall. We're going to start swinging our arms. And partner one, you can watch and listen. We'll cover one other thing. So as you're swinging those arms, you're going from cheek to cheek. You're coming straight up like, Kyle, you're kind of crossing midline. I want you to come to midline and not go across. That's it. So as you guys are doing this, some of the mistakes that people make is some people want to like pick their nose or they want to comb their hair. We're going to stay up and away, up and away, up and away, rather than up and too close. We don't want to be brushing our hair. We don't want to be picking our nose. We're going to fluidly get a little faster and faster and faster. Eric, you can go a little faster than that, right? You got a little more pop in you, don't you? Here we go. There we go. I want you guys to pick up the speed, pick up the speed, pick up the speed, pick up the speed. We're going to hit top speed with the arms in 3, 2, 1, and go. 3, 2, 1, and stop. That was great. We're going to switch it back to partner number one. See how those guys started bouncing a little bit? That's actually what I want. That was a great job, guys. So we're going to do a very similar thing. Nice and tall, legs out in front of you. We're going to swing. We're not picking our nose. Up and away, up and away, up and away, up and away. I want you to pick up the speed. And the only thing I want you to focus on, we're just gradually, we're not at full speed yet. I'll tell you when we get at full speed. Just kind of stay fast. The only thing I want you to think about is the up. The hand goes up fast, up fast, up fast, up fast, up fast. We're going to get up to full speed in 3, in 2, in 1, and go. There we go. There we go. Now we're bouncing there. We're bouncing. Now we're bouncing, and we're done in 3, 2, 1, and break, switch. We're going back to partner two. Really good work, guys. I want you to think like, hey, when people are running fast, they're going up. They're creating so much power and explosion that they're bouncing up and off the ground. Going up is the most important thing. That's basically the only thing I want you to think. The middle of your head is going up to the ceiling. Your hands are coming up and away, up and away, up and away. If they go up and away fast enough and hard enough, it's going to bring you up off the ground. Think about how much drive you get that you can bounce off your feet just with your arms. All right, so we're going for the same thing. If you feel yourself starting to turn or shift, the way to fix that, find something to look at out in front of you and stay focused on that thing. All right, so partner two, and this is going to be the last round of these arm pieces. Nice and tall, start swinging your arms, nice and fluid, nice and fluid. We're going to see who's got the most bounce to them today. We're going to gradually pick up the speed, up and away, up and away, up and away. We're going to hit full speed in 3, in 2, and 1, and go. There we go. Fluid and fast, up and away, and we're done in 3, 2, 1, and pause. Good. So partner one, we're going to come back, but the only difference is, and I hope I don't mess you guys up because I'm just going to bring them over to this wall here. So we kind of work some arm pieces, and now we're going to work some leg pieces. So you guys ever see those zombie movies? You know, what do zombies do with their arms when they walk at you? Yeah, they're kind of out in front of you, right? So we're going to do something called zombie marches. So we're going to have our arms doing exactly what you just showed me. We're going to put our backs on the wall, and we're going to reach out in front of us just like a zombie, and we're going to start marching. And I want you to be able to keep your back and your head on the wall the whole time. Now, as I do this, you can see like my feet aren't completely on the wall, and they're not 10 feet out in front of the wall. They're about here, which is maybe 3 or 4 inches away from the wall. Now, you're going to look at this, and you're going to say to yourself, well, this is no big deal. This is super easy. Might be a little bit more challenging than you think. So group one, you guys are going to take some wall space, and we're going to start with these zombie marches. And we'll reach out in front just like a zombie, and we're going to try to pick up those legs, and you guys can begin. That's pretty good, actually. Good. So when we pick up our legs with these marching drills, we're going to pick up the leg to 90 and not more than 90. This is the Ferris Bueller's Day part of the show, where why am I going to 90 and not more than 90? Because if I go to 90, that moves the knee the farthest away from the body in the propulsion arc. If I start coming up beyond 90, it actually brings the knee farther back towards me as it arcs back towards the body. If I'm trying to run forward as fast as I can, I need everything to go forward. I don't want things to start going back. It's front side mechanics, not sending things backwards. So we're going to break in 3, 2, 1, and group 2. We got a couple of zombies on the wall. We're going to start our marching here. There we go. So guys, as we're doing this one, again, we're going to think up, 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 up. We stay tall, the top of the head goes up. And when you're picking up the foot, you're going to think about bringing your shoelaces up. That's really nice. Almost like you're bringing your toenails up. Really good work, really good work. Group 2, I'm going to add a little wrinkle for you. You're doing pretty good with these zombie marches. Now, don't break these mirrors. I brought you over here for a reason, because we're going to start going from here to here and start to mix arms and legs. But that mirror is going to bang into you if you go too far back. We don't want to do that. Now, Eric, what I got from you is we're getting into kind of like this sort of a straight arm thing. A couple of things we got to watch out for, guys, is we got to watch out for straight armers, and we got to watch out for karate experts. If you get out here and we start seeing people slap chopping all over the place, we don't want that. I want 90 at the arms and to stay 90 at the arms the whole time. We're going to break in 3, 2, 1, and switch. We'll have you guys start with your zombie marches, and then you're going to transition into getting the arms going. So try to keep that head on the mirror as best you can. And when you're ready to make that change to 90-degree arms that are moving, go ahead and give it a shot. Yeah, and that mirror is going to be there. Mirror is a constraint. Mirror is going to be there, and it's just going to give you feedback. Are you banging too far back as you're trying to create this movement? Now, the big thing, guys, the shoulder is the place that I want to move from. I don't want to be an elbow mover. You know, as we can do this, some of the things you pick up, some people are like pirates. You know, I got karate people, I got pirates, I've got straight arm people. Like, these are the things we got to watch out for. So up, 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 midline, 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 midline. We don't want to flare. You know, you get like the pirate jig kind of a thing going. We'll eliminate some of those pieces. We're going to have group 2 come in 3, 2, 1, and switch. And group 2, you're going to get it going tall with the zombie, and then we'll switch to the arms. Yep, good work. When you're ready, you make that transition. Very nice. So we're going to try to get a little less elbow, Kyle. We're going to just keep that elbow fixed to where it is. Shoulder, 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 shoulder. Same thing, Eric. We're going to try to keep the hands away from the wall at the bottom. We're going to stay bent at the elbow and shoulder moves, shoulder moves, shoulder moves, shoulder moves. Good. We're getting there. We're going to break in 3, 2, 1. Okay. We're going to move over and we're going to start using these bands and these kettlebells to help us with this stuff. So the first thing I'm going to have you guys do, group 1, is you're going to throw the band up and around you. Put it around your waist. You'll grab the kettlebell. You'll come out right to where you feel a little stretch. I don't need you trying to pull this rack over. You're not a Clydesdale or anything like that. As soon as you feel anything, that's where you're going to be. And use this just to stay nice and tall. You're going to hold the bell in front of you right here. And the first thing we're going to do is march. We're going to do a round of marches. If you know how to march, you can probably figure out how to skip after that. The second thing we're going to do after marching, and it's not going to be in the same round. We're going to time marching for 10 seconds. You're going to switch. Partner 2 is going to come in and march. After you march, round 2 is going to be a skip. So it's a march, but you just add a little bit more vertical thrust. We're going to do marches, we're going to do skips, and we're going to do a high knee run. So that's pretty straightforward, but you're going to be here, quick, off the ground, up, 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 up. You can start low. I don't need you to bring your knees super high. Just get the rhythm of being here. As you find that low rhythm and a little bit of speed, you can feel free to make the movement bigger over time. So we're going to have group 1 in first. You guys are going to feel that tension from the band, and we're going to march for 10 seconds. So what I'm going to do is just use a timer here so that I can kind of transition you guys in and out. I'm out of breath. So let me get this timer going. So hold on one sec. Apologize for this. New phone, so I moved all the apps around. I don't remember what it looks like anymore. Okay, you guys ready? We're going to start marching in 3, 2, 1, go. Good, nice and tall. I don't need you leaning forward. I just need you going up. There it is. Up, up, up. You're done in 2, 1, time. You're going to switch. Group 2 is going to come in. Group 2 is going to get the band on. They're going to move away. We're going to be marching for 10 seconds. Nice and tall. Feet are coming up, up, up. Go ahead in 2, 1, and go. Really nice work, guys. 3, 2, 1, switch. Group 2, you're coming in, we're skipping. Hey, a little quick transition now. You're like a NASCAR pit crew. Pull in, get out. We're going to skip here. So we're going to start skipping in 3, 2, 1, and go. There we go. Good work. Just going up, up, up. That's the only direction you're thinking about with your feet. 2, 1, time. Back to group 2. As you guys are switching out of that band, listen to the difference between my feet when I think about up versus when I think about down. Don't want to think about down, only want to think about up here. We're going in 3, 2, 1, and go. Nice work, nice work. Staying tall, looking forward, foot comes up. 3, 2, 1, switch. We're coming back in with group 1. We've got our high knee run here. Guys, we're light, we're relaxed, we're rhythmic, we're fluid. So we're coming in and we're going to start this high knee run in 3, 2, 1, and go. There we go. Looking forward. Up, 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 up. 3, 2, 1, time. Group 2, we're coming back in. Guys, we got 3 rounds of this, by the way, just as a heads up. Band goes on, going out and getting the bell. We got a high knee run. We're starting in 3, 2, 1, and go. Tall through the top of the head, looking forward, feet coming up, 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 up. 2, 1, time. Back to the march, group 1. All right, we're starting to get warm now. Looking good. Guys are putting it together. Marching coming up here. We're looking forward. We're staying tall. We're starting in 3, 2, 1, go. There we go. Nice and relaxed, nice and rhythmic. Up, 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 tall. Foot comes up. Shoelaces coming up. Toenails coming up. 2, 1, time. Group 1 back, or group 2 coming back in. Marching coming up here. We're going in 2, 1, start. There we go. Nice and tall. Good work. Toenails coming up. Nice and high. Right through the toenail. Right through the toenail. 2, 1, time. Skips. Hey, a little hop to it now. Figuring out this band rotation. Looking smooth. Feeling light. Going up. Starting this in 2, 1, go. Nice work. You guys are putting it together. We got a nice early 90s Running Man dance going on over there. 2, 1, time. Switching it back to group 2, skip. You're quick off the ground. You're quick off the ground. Where's the foot go as soon as it hits the ground? Up. Skipping in 2, 1, start. As soon as that foot hits the ground, where's it go? Up, 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 up. 2, 1, time. You can start to hear it when it's being done right. We have high knee run. We're light. We're coming up. We're tall. We're going in 2, 1, go. Yep, there it is. Where's the foot go? As soon as it hits the ground, up, 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 up. 2, 1, time. Group 2 coming back in. Tell me where the head's going. Where's the foot going? Excellent. We're going in 2, 1, go. Up, 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 up. 2, 1, time. Last round coming up. Skips, marches, skips, runs. You might notice there's no arms with this today. I'm just keeping it as simple as possible. Going in 2, 1, march. There we go. We're tall. Where's the foot go when it hits the ground? Up. When does it go there? As soon as it can. 2, 1, time. Group 2, back to the march. We're going in 2, 1, march. Nice work. Looking forward, staying tall, right through the top of the head. Foot goes up, 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 time. Group 1, skip. Tell you what, as soon as that foot hits the floor, it's got to go someplace. There's only one word for it to go. 2, 1, go. That's it. There we go. We're getting rid of that running man dance now. 2, 1, time. I like it. I like it. Seeing a little explosion out of you guys. We got a straggler here, but good to take care of that shoelace. Skip, and then we got one more round after this. Going in 2, 1, skip. Really nice. I like it. You hear that sound on the up, 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 up. 2, 1, time. Last group of runs. Going in 2, 1, run. Beautiful work here, guys. Let me hear that frequency. Up, 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 up. 2, 1, time. That's what I'm talking about. Group 2, you better bring it. Group 1, just send a little heat down your way here. Let's see it now. Let's see it. Going in 2, 1, up. That's what I'm talking about. Stay tall, stay tall, stay tall, stay tall. 2, 1, time. Good work, guys. Hey, we're going to make our way down the other end of the gym. We're going to be using the treadmill as we're heading that way. If you catch your breath, if you've got a drink, not a bad time to get it. I'll meet you down there. If you're on the virtual, we're just moving the camera, we're moving the show. So we've got our 2 groups, we've got our 2 treadmills. So guys, this is going to be group 1 treadmill. This is going to be group 2 treadmill. Let me show you what we're doing before I have you guys hop up there so you can kind of catch your breath as I'm demoing this stuff and showing you what the drill is. So this is going to look maybe kind of funny because you're probably not used to running with your hands on a treadmill, but that's what we're going to be doing today. So a lot of times I'll just kind of kickstart it almost like a skateboard to get the belt moving before I start running on it. And look, like in the first round, all I'm going to have you guys do, believe it or not, is just walk on this thing, because if you've never used this, it's going to feel like you're on an alien planet. It's kind of crazy on this treadmill. So we're going to walk for 20 seconds on this thing. And at the end of it, if you feel kind of comfortable, you can begin to start jogging on it a little bit. But this is about all I need by the end of that warm-up 20-second round of walking on it. On the first round, where we're going to really give it a go, here's what it's going to look like. Now, first thing I want you to notice, if you're looking at this treadmill from where you are, can you guys see these bolts on the front of the treadmill right here? You're going to use those as your frame of reference for where you're going to stand, okay? When I'm running, I want my feet to be hitting the ground right here, and I want to be standing right over those bolts. So when I'm on this thing and doing it right, I'm right here. If I'm not doing it right, I end up doing something like that. We're going to avoid that caveman run, and we're going to stay in close to the front of the treadmill so that our feet are right next to these bolts and our head is right over these bolts. If you're doing it right, it's going to look like this right here. My feet just come straight up. I stay nice and tall. I can look to the side and see myself in the mirror, and I see that I'm right over my hips with my head. So that's the way the drill is going to look. Yeah, you got mirrors that way. You got mirrors that way. Group 1, that's probably going to be your mirror. Group 2, that's probably going to be your mirror. Sometimes that's the most useful way to evaluate this. So partner 1 is going to be up here first. We're just going to walk for 20. Oof. Hey, group 2, we got partner 1 as well. You guys are group 2, right? Yes. Well, you guys were group 2, right? Weren't you guys group 1 partners?
No, we're partners.
You guys are partners. Okay, my bad. All right.
You remember the names, I'll remember the brothers.
Got it. Okay. So guys, we're just walking for 20. What we're going to do on this one is just we'll hit the reset button right there. Yep, just walk on the thing. 20 seconds of walking. If you feel comfortable, you can start kind of jogging on it. And 3, 2, 1, and we'll switch. Partner 2 coming in.
The bottom one needs to reset.
Yeah, what we'll do, what you guys might notice here is that if the belt stops on the treadmill, the time stops. So we're going to keep the belt moving. Partner 1 is going to run on the zeros. You're going to run 0 to the 15. Partner 2, as soon as you're done, hop off. We're going to get partner 2 on. You'll run on the 30. Just walk on it to keep the clock moving, if that makes sense. Okay? So group 2, or partner 2, you guys are going to start now with just walking. Yeah, get the feel for it. We got a 20-second walk here. If you feel comfortable, you can start jogging on it. And 3, 2, 1, time. So now, partner 1s, you're going to hop on here. We got our first round of 15-second runs. Hands are going to stay on. You're going to try to stay over that bolt, stay nice and tall. If you want, you can kind of reset the time before you start, so you got a good idea about the 15 seconds. So you're running on this one, guys. Yep.
The hop off is just on the other side?
Yeah, well, you're going to, like just get your feet off the moving belt and step off, and then partner 2 is going to be right on there after you. Okay? So we'll get you guys going in 3, 2, 1, here we go. Not too fast, nice and easy. Just stay tall and bouncy. There we go. Hop off, partner 2 on. You got to walk to keep the belt moving. You're going to start running on the 30. Yeah, I don't need you guys to run super fast just yet. Here, walk on it or the belt will stop. Yep. When you get to the 30, you guys are going to start running. I only need you running about 65% here, guys. I just want you tall. I want the feet coming up. Yep, good job. You can always check on yourself in the side mirror. Good, next partner on. Walk until you get to the 1 minute point. When you get to a minute, you can start your run for 15 seconds. I don't care about how fast you go today. I just want to see how tall can you stay and how high can you bring your feet. There you go. You should look like a deer bouncing through the woods. So I got you leaning way forward. I need you taller. There we go. Time. We got 4 total runs here, guys. Partner 2's coming up here. We'll work on the exit, the dismount. So we're walking. I don't care how fast the belt goes. I just want to see how tall you can stay. I want you to focus on bringing your feet up, up, up. I want some baby deers running here. How high can that foot come? How high can the foot come? Out in front of you, out in front of you, out in front of you. Straight up, straight up, straight up. Should be starting run number 3, partner 1. You can get a really good view of this from the side. I want only increasing height as this is happening. What am I looking at here? Oh, yeah, it's a great shot. Okay. Yeah. All right, run 3 for partner 2. Getting a pretty good workout in here. We're going to sweat a little bit.
Do you want to heel strike it all?
Just think up, up, up. That's it, Kyle. That's what I'm talking about over there. That's what I'm looking. That's what I've been looking for. Beautiful. Last round, group one. Really nice adjustment on that one. I hope you felt what that one was like. We're going to recreate that on the next round. If you saw Kyle, you kind of know what you're looking for. Yep, stay tall, stay tall, stay tall. I don't care about how fast you go. I only care about how high the foot can get. Yeah, we're getting there. I like the way you're putting that together. We're going to make that a little bit different as we go, but I like the change. Going a little bit too far back with the kicking. Just straight, boom, 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 boom. Last one. Nice and fluid. Be an athlete. Tall. Feet are coming up, 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 up. Well done, well done. If you guys could do me a favor, the button on the left side on the bottom is the power button. If you can just turn it off, that'd be great. Okay, we're done with our running part. We're going to head back to the back. We're going to lift some weights here, guys. As you're recovering, I'll start showing you what we're going to do. We got a good little workout ahead of us. Yeah, they're not really in the way, though. That's HD, baby. I know. And they didn't even see the best part of you. You guys notice I got Taysom Hill as my tight end for this week? I got that.
I tried beating you to him. I missed it by like 10 minutes.
Yeah, man. I got that double quarterback system running right now. So, all right, guys, we've got a few exercises we're going to do together here. We got group one exercises, and then after we go through these, we'll have group two exercises. So we've got a machine chest press that's behind you, okay? So I'll show you what this one looks like, and I'll show you how to use it. This thing's got a seat that can move up and down in height, okay? So when I'm using it, I put it at height 6, and I got short legs, so I put it at seat height 6, and I use these two blocks so that it's more comfortable for me from a seated position. So I get in it like this. I got buttons here that change the weight. We're going to keep it pretty light. We're going to get a practice round with all of these things, and then we're going to get a couple of sets of real work. So if I want to increase the weight, I hit the button on the right thumb. If I want to decrease the weight, I hit the button on the left thumb. So I'll put it at a reasonable weight, and I'm going to be pushing it away like this, and I'll bring it back like this. We've got bumpers here. You can see I touch right there. I want to be able to try to get good full range of motion repetitions here. I'm going to come back until I hit the bumper. I'm going to push it away until my arms are straight. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Not a lot to do to screw this thing up, okay? It comes back, it goes away. I stay nice and tall. Nothing really changes for my body. Just good, solid work. We'll get a feel for this thing, get nice and comfortable with it. The second exercise, you guys are going to be squatting and using these kettlebells and heel wedges over here. So you're going to pick up the kettlebell. You're going to hold it in front of your chest. You're going to keep your feet on the wedge, and we're going to squat down nice and low. Now, the easiest way to really finish this at the bottom is to pull your knees back to your chest, and then we're going to go straight up from there. So I'm going to move straight up and straight down like an elevator rather than sitting back like an escalator. So I'm here. I keep the bell in front of my chest. I stay tall. I get to the bottom of the squat by pulling my knees back to my chest, and then I push myself straight back up. So we're going to do that as the second exercise. The third exercise, we're going to do a plank. We've got some wall space over here. So you're going to come over here. I'm going to do a regular plank. My forearms are on the ground. My elbows are right in front of my shoulders. The only difference is we're going to just put our feet flat on the wall. So I'll lay down right here, put my feet flat into the wall behind me. got my forearms right on the ground like this, nice straight line with my body, and we're gonna hold this for 45 seconds. So what I'm gonna have you guys do is, like I said, we're gonna get a practice round. We'll have 2 guys on the squat here, and we'll have 1 person on the chest and 1 person on the plank. So this is our practice round. Just gonna see what we've got, get a feel for the equipment, get a feel for what that's like, and let's just go ahead. We'll organize ourselves. So group 2 participants, you guys are gonna be right here on the squat, and group 1 guys, 1 guy over there, 1 guy over there. I mean, I don't even know at this point. I'm just trying to organize you. You guys were part of the same group. That's what I was saying.
We were partner 2's group 1.
Man, I don't know what happened. As long as you guys know what's going on, we'll see how that chest press feels. So go ahead, just try that thing out. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Not a lot to learn there. Get a few reps in. Figure out what feels like a decent weight. Nothing crazy, nothing to joke. Let's see how this plank looks. Forearms under the elbows. Heels are on the wall behind you. Nice straight line. That looks pretty reasonable to me. Let's see what these squats are like, guys. Oh, I like what I see. Oh, wow. You guys are pros. This is going to be easy. Now, I might just have you just spread your feet a little bit more. That might make it a little bit, halfway in between where you started and where you got to. Right about there is going to be perfect. Really nice job. And you guys on the squat look great. If you got your weight figured out over there, you're good. What I'll have you guys do is we'll just simply take partner or group 2, wherever you guys are, okay? You guys are going to swap out with these guys. We're going to switch you to the 1 guy on the chest press, 1 guy on the plank. Seth, would you mind just grabbing some towels if we have them? Just because we got, sweaty dudes on things and whatever. Yep. So let's try these things out. Appreciate it. Awesome. This one's yours. This one's yours. And these are for you guys. Hey, squat's looking pretty good over here. Guys, this is really just for me to make sure you're not doing something completely insane. All of you look like you're not totally gone at this point, so looks pretty good. How's the weight feel over there? I think maybe the seat height is a little bit off for you. You might want to bring the seat height up maybe another notch. You can move that seat if you want. Like, you got to step up off of it, stand up, and then it kind of rocks, and then you can lift it. Yeah, try 5, see if that's a little bit more comfortable. If you haven't tried the plank yet, give the plank a shot. That looks much better. So if you've got a weight selected, your seat height is 5, okay? So you give that chest press a shot. You see how this plank treats you. You guys can help if you want. Yeah. So you have not done the chest press, right? No, sir. Okay. So you guys are going to figure out that chest press. You go back and forth. You've tried everything. You've done Okay, perfect. So we got another bit of wall space right over there. Just go ahead, put your feet, right into that wall. We'll see what that looks like. Okay, I got a taco shell over here. I got to get this butt in line with where the rest of the body is. That's much better. And do me a favor, just look at this space right where my shoe is. Okay? Maybe look 2 inches lower than that. Yeah, that's a little, right there is pretty good. That looks good. You can relax. These practice rounds are important. Just see if you got anything that's like, whoa, before you have people kind of go live. That's too high. You're doing belly button presses. I mean, I like it. You're sitting up nice and tall, real proud. It's still too high. Yep. Yeah, there we go. How's that feel? I didn't really get a chance to see you. Yeah, I'm fine with that. That's good. You got abs kicking on that?
Yeah.
Cool. So if everybody has tried the chest press, you guys feel like you've got a comfortable weight on that one. The weight on the squat should be fine. I got one last surprise for you guys, and it is that we're going to be going to a tempo on this. So it's going to sound, oh, come on, don't give me an ad now. Oh, I'm in the wrong thing, that's why. So this is going to play in your dreams later on tonight, by the way, just so you know. hear that? So when you're on this chest press, Kyle, if you don't mind, might have to move that seat again. You'll be doing those belly button presses. Okay? When you push it away, it's going to go 1, 2, 3. When it comes back, 1, 2, 3. It doesn't have to be choppy, just takes back, forward. Same thing's going to be true of the squat. If you want to just demo that for me real quick. 1, 2, 3, up, 2, 3. We got 8 to 12 reps at the chest press and the squat. We got 45 seconds on the hold on the plank. So I'm going to let you guys start with group 2 on the squat. Group 1 is split between those two places. Could you potentially do me a favor and just time the planks? So when you guys are ready, 8 to 12 reps squatting, 8 to 12 reps pressing. Here's your timer. Looks good. Nice job. Straight up, straight down. I like this plank. That's a really good looking position you're in. Keep pushing those heels into the wall really effectively. It's like I don't even have anything to coach. You guys are all pros here. Good work, guys. We're going to have 2 rounds of these exercises. Perfect. You can get out of there. What you guys are going to be doing, group 1, is when you finish your set, you're going to be, both of you are going to the squat, and then group 2 guys are going, one guy to the chest press, one guy to the plank. Like a well-oiled machine here. 8 to 12. On the chest press, 8 to 12. There you go. That timer is important. Some people have an idea of 3 seconds. It's like 1, 2, 3. 3 seconds can be a long time. Good work. Now come over here. Yep, as you're down at the bottom here, yep, we're going to really actively pull those suckers back. You don't worry about that time just now. There it is. That's the area code we got to get to. And then straight up. But that was really fast. Yep. That's the ticket. That's so much better right there. You got it. Good work. Knees are going to pull back, pull back. That's great. Right there is perfect. You feel the difference between where you started, where you're at now? Awesome work. Yeah. We're almost there. I'm going to help you here. You're going to find an uncomfortable zip code. We're going to pull the knees and we're going to pull the butt to the heels. You feel that difference right there? Now we're going to go straight up. Good work. Really nice job. Really nice work. Yeah, we're going to have, this is going to be your set 1 over here for the chest press. Okay? Don't worry about rushing through this, guys. It doesn't have to, like, you started on the chest press, correct? So this is going to be set 1 for you on the plank, and this is going to be set 1 for you on the chest press. And both of you guys got a set in on the chest press. Is that correct?
This is his first set.
You got 1 set. Okay, so you guys are just a little ahead, but that's fine. We're gonna have a little bit of a backup here, but not a big deal. So I'm gonna get more of a straight line with your body. Yeah. That's perfect. You're doing a great job giving me a really good push here. The only thing I'd encourage more of, think about where the back pockets of your shorts would be. Don't even worry about doing that. You're doing stuff before I'm even telling you what to do with them. Just think about making those back pockets move in the direction down towards the backs of your knees. Yeah. Do you feel more abs when you do that? Beautiful. That looks good. Yeah. If you heard what I said to him, you can apply it too. Back pockets slide down towards the backs of the knees. All right. So you got a set of planks in, you've got a set of chest press in. What we'll have you do is you're coming back to the squat right now? Okay. So that, okay, no, that's all right. It looks a little high on the seat, but you're doing fine. You can just recover and relax, wait for your next station to open up here. You guys can get going though. Okay, we'll really make sure that these squats are just nailed this time. Reach those knees, reach those knees, reach those knees. Now bring the knees back in towards the body. There we go. We're gonna, when we bring the knees back in towards the body, we're pulling the butt to the heels. I'm gonna work with you on the next rep here, Kyle. We're gonna pull back and we're gonna pull the butt to the heels. That's it. And then straight up. Good. Pull the knees back, pull the butt to the heels, and then straight up from there. That's the full exploration right there. Good work. Beautiful. Elevator, not escalator. Good. You might want to even walk your feet up more on that wedge, the other way, backwards. Yep. Use every little bit of that you can. That's it. Okay. We're going to really nail this second round of this plank. If you heard what I said to the other guys, you can think about bringing your back pockets down towards the backs of your knees. Yeah. I can see you're doing it right. Keep that going. I'm going to push on you. You push on me. Beautiful. Feel those abs firing a little more? Very nice work. Back pockets of the backs of the knees. Use that to facilitate more push of your heels into the wall. Great work. I like what I see here, guys. Great work. Great concentration. You guys have another plank and another chest press. That's your second chest press. You've gotten 2 planks in.
2 planks, 1 and 1.
Okay. You guys know what you're doing. I'm just kind of keeping track for myself here. So you got 1 more chest press after this, and that's when you're done. And you got 1 more plank after this. That's when you're done. Okay. Good work. I love what I'm seeing here. You guys are paying attention. Really good effort. You're going to hear this behind you. Try not to hit this with your butt. Feel how you're hitting that with your butt? Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there. As soon as you hit it with your butt, that's where we're going to end your range, okay? Yep, and then right back up, right back up. You don't even have to go any lower than as soon as you hit this thing. Right there. That's great. As soon as you hit it, that's where it ends. We're going right back up. Good work. Really nice job. I added a constraint. I took the constraint away. That's just following principles of progression. I didn't like how much I was seeing hips sitting back. I was going to try to limit that. When I saw what I wanted, I take away the constraint. People are like, how many weeks do you have to be in the constraint? I don't know, like 0.005 weeks sometimes, 7 weeks sometimes. When you like what you see and you kind of follows along this list of things that we've got as a rule book, you can remove. Like I said, program design and a lot of this stuff is more about being a good gardener, and gardeners oftentimes remove and prune the tree more than trying to add more things. Great work on that plank. You can't fake the shake, baby. Don't try to shake the fake either, whatever that means. Doing a great job here closing this out with this first group of exercises. That's the last one for you guys in this, right? Great. So we got one guy finishing up the chest press. When he's done, and take your time, don't feel rushed by this. Keep on that tempo. You're doing a really good job here. After he's done with that, I'm going to show you what the next group of exercises is. You'll be very glad to hear that I'll turn off the metronome for a second. You know, I picked the most caustic sound that it can make purposely. There's definitely less high pitch kind of aggravating noises, but why would you play that one when you can play the worst one? Yeah. The metronome does amazing things. All right, really nice work on the A's there, guys. We're going to get into the B's, and the B's are going to be a lat pull down, and they're going to be a cable pull through. Now, I'm going to use a different attachment here for this lat pull down. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this one. And if I could hand this to somebody, there we go. All right. So we'll have you guys try these out, get a little practice in, and again, pick something that's pretty reasonable. What you can adjust here is this height for where your legs are going to fit under. So, you know, you might want to just sit in it first and see like, okay, is this comfortable or do I need to move it up or down? You pull the pin, you can move it like that. So you're going to grab the handles here. You're going to sit down with it. I want you to just keep your body nice and tall with your chest aimed forward, and you're going to pull the implement straight down until you feel like you've brought your elbows as close to your hips as you can. You'll allow it to go straight back up. Look forward, nice and balanced in terms of where the body is, straight up, straight down. Elbows drive the show. You're trying to bring your elbows to your hips. Over here, we've got a different exercise. We've got a cable pull through. I'm going to use a different attachment handle than that one. So hope that was loud enough for the people on the Zoom call. If it wasn't, that should be. Don't see the one I want here. So let's see. Anybody, have you seen where that double handle one is? Like, I don't see it back here. I don't know. Yeah. Is that missing? Like, wow. Okay. That's a tough deal, man. That's a nice attachment handle. So there's another handle I like a hell of a lot better than what we're going to use here. I guess we will use that rope. Where'd that thing go? Okay. Oh, I didn't see it in there. Is that it? Okay. All right, there we go. Okay, so our other exercise, this is called a pull through. And where'd those wedges go? Just need the one. So we're going to have this on the ground. You're going to have the handle that's going to be behind you. This one's for Coach Kaz, because I know he's a big fan of the cable pull through. We're going to kick this wedge away so that we've got enough room for this thing to stretch back. All right. When I do this, I don't need my full foot up on the wedge. I just need to put some toes on here. What I want to do here, guys, the primary thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get my hips to sit back in space. I'm going to have them sit back, and I'm going to have them come forward. So as I'm doing this, I'm going to just be pushing my hands at the ground. I'm not going to necessarily be reaching way back through my legs. I'm just pushing my hands at the ground this way and letting my hips sit back in space. My hips sit back, and then I think about just pushing straight down into the ground, and it brings my hips back up. So I'm going to have somebody practicing over here and somebody practicing over here. pretty lightweight on that lat pull down. You might need to put a little bit more on there. And guys, like this is a good opportunity to see he's trying to squat, and right now I'm just trying to have his hips go back in space. So when you're practicing here, don't let these knees bend any more than they are right there. Like I'm gonna need him to actively fight this knee bend. So as you're sitting back, you need to push the ground to keep fighting for these knees to not bend. You feel more hamstrings as you're doing that? Good. Don't let these, yes. Yep. That's okay. Well, I mean, it's going to go back. Just think about reaching straight down too. Good. We're going to fight this. We're going to fight this. We're going to fight this. Overall, I'm pretty happy, but we're going to work on this as we do these sets. Okay. We can switch somebody in. You can get some practice lat pull downs in if you've already done that. You can switch somebody in over here, practice pull throughs. Look, I don't think the pull through is a great training exercise. I just think it's the best teaching exercise that gives me a chance to have hips sit back in space. Plain and simple. Yeah, that's a really nice job. We're going to see how far this can go back. There we go. We're getting there now. As you sit back, the natural tendency is going to be that these are going to want to bend. You got to fight that. You got to actively push the ground hard through your feet to try to straighten these legs as you're sitting back. Push hard. Good. You feel more hamstrings as you really push hard? Good. That looks pretty good on that lat pull down. Super comfortable with that. You're just, one more for me if you would. Just really thinking about bringing these elbows all the way down. Feel the difference there? Excellent. If you haven't tried one, switch one more time. So you feel how you're just kind of going like this? I don't care about how much you can make your torso go towards the ground. The only thing I care about is how far these hips can sit back in space. That's way better. Okay? And go ahead and reach these hands. Yep. The hands reach as the hips just go back. Right there is all I need. Good. Now, you're going to feel the way these are going to want to try to bend as you sit back. We're going to fight that. Push hard, push hard. Good. That's plenty. Okay, everybody try everything, or is this your first time trying this lat pull down? So hop out of there. We're going to need to switch this legs. Yep. If you guys have tried everything, I don't know where did I move my phone? I thought I left it on the ground over there. I'm just going to need it for the metronome. I think so. Yep. So that looks pretty good. This looks pretty good. I'm happy enough with that. Guys, you can start like group partner one of each group can start on the exercise. Group two is going to start on the lat pull down. Group one is going to start on the pull through. And then partner two, you're going to switch in. We'll just switch you back and forth. Okay? So who's over here? Where's group? I think it's group one is on the lat pull down, partner one. Okay. Same kind of timing. Good. Now the bottom of this exercise is where the money's at on the lat pull down. We got to bury these elbows down towards the hips. That's when these are going to kick in. Good. This thing aims forward. It never changes. That's all it is. That's the whole motion. How far do these sit back? How far do these sit back? Fight. Good. Only push to come to the top. You don't need to pull with your upper body. Good. I love this. Is so much better. 8 to 12, 8 to 12. Good. On the way down with the lat pull down, the elbows lead the show. Put your elbows in your pockets. With the pull through, I want you to be a pusher on the way up rather than a puller. And you're going to push right down the backside of your body. Your glutes push down into the backs of your knees. Your heels push down into the ground. So that, yeah, it's a little too high. And we got a nice rotation going here, guys. I'll keep you at the same station for your 2 sets. Okay, so if you just did your pull through, you're going to go back to the pull through, get 2 sets there, and then we'll switch over to the lat pull down. Now I'm just going to try to get more hips sitting back here from you. The only thing I care about are the hips going back. Right there is all I need. Yep, that's good. I don't care about how much you fold towards the ground. I only care about how posterior we can move these hips. Good. At the top, a little bit of knee flexion. Right there, soft knees, and then they don't bend anymore. Hips sit back, 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 back. Right there's all you got. Push to come up. There we go. We're going to put those elbows in the pockets here at the bottom. Put them in the pockets. Now, I think on your next round of that pull through, what I'm going to have you do is you're going to not put as much of your foot on that as you have right now. You got your whole foot on there for that first set. Second set, just your toes. Good. If you're watching the pull through from the side, I mean, it really is, you'll hear me say the same thing over and over. A hinge is about how far back in space a pelvis can sit. It is not about being a lawn flamingo and getting your torso to incline down towards the ground. When you are hinging, the sternum starts by being aimed at the horizon. It doesn't down pump handle as you go back. It stays there. And to keep it there, I'm trying to reach. If I can reach and not down pump handle, that's best case scenario. That's why I'm cueing this to reach towards the ground. That's a really pretty rep. I mean, the advantage I have is these are exercise professionals that understand these things. I'm not going to say this to 14-year-olds, okay? So if I get 14-year-olds to come in and be this organized and do things this well, I mean, it's not ever going to happen. You know, this is too idealized an environment, but I'm trying to use this now at the end to talk through some of these finer points. Because, you know, these guys have, I think this is set 2. You just did set 2, your pull through. So you're going to do 2 sets of lat pull down. That's going to be the end of this thing. Really great job on that pull through on the second round. Now, you don't even need to go as far down. Just how far back can your hips go? And that's it. They're done. Like, we don't need to add another motion to this. That's as far as they go. Good work. Now, I'm going to pause you at the bottom of the next rep, okay? You're going to stay right there. I want you to feel this space right here. No, the other version of it. Push and push into me. Yeah. Feel your hamstrings come on fire when you do that? Perfect. Go back up. That's a great example of sagittal sensory motor competency. If I can get a good relationship between the middle of his skull, middle of his pelvic floor, it's good enough. Now, can he keep that and retract his rib cage? He retracts his rib cage by pushing. Push, push, without changing the sternum. Push without changing, right there, and back up by pushing the ground. That is the face I'm looking for right there. That's a different animal, right? Yep, he's grunting and sweating now. Look, I can't get that out of 14-year-olds on day 1. I'll get it out of them on week 6. That's why cable pull-through is a good exercise. I can turn this thing into a monster by pushing, push, and push the ground. And look at how far his hips are sitting back now. That's a completely different hip as we had on rep 1, set 1. That's perfect. And that's plenty of reps. That's the stuff that fucking lights me on fire in these seminars. Seeing somebody do a set of pull-throughs like that. That's why I am obsessed with this stuff. Same, but different. At the top, look forward. Feel this space right here. Push into me. Reach away from you to push this into me. Excellent. Keep that push going without changing this. And that's the spot right there. Push to come back up through the ground. But, yes. Allow your eyesight to change as you're doing the rep. Push the ground so that these don't get too bent. Push the ground to come back up. Good. You got to be a pusher, not a puller, the whole time, even on the way down with a hinge. Push. Yeah, that's okay. You know what you got to do? You got to push the big toes now.
Yeah, just don't.
Yep. That's okay. Push the whole foot. Push the whole foot. Push the hands. Push the back. That's as far as you got motion-wise. That's the best one by a mile. Push the hands, push the feet, push the back. Excellent job. We're going to aim the sternum forward and reach at the top so you feel this come back. Nope, the other way. Yes. Same lesson as the pull through. Don't lose this as you now bring your elbows down to your hips. Oh, that's the money maker. Yes, sir. And I'm telling you right now, you can't fake the shake, baby. Every time you get that, it's like, this is sensory motor competent city, sagittal plane. I love it, man. You're so coachable. It's unbelievable. Now you're working. Different level of lats now, huh?
Yeah.
That's that noise you want to hear. You turn someone into an absolute animal with it. I love it. Pusher, not a puller. You're going to push this space into my hands. Yes. And now what I need from you is to be a foot pusher on the way down so that you don't let your knees bend too much for me. Yeah. We're getting there. Push the ground. Don't let these come forward so much. Yep. I don't even care how much range we get. Push here and push the ground. Right there is all I need. Feel that one? Yep. That's what I'm talking about. Now I'm going to pause you at the top of the next one, okay? We're going to, yes, feel this push back into me as you reach for the ceiling, okay? You feel your sternum aim straight ahead. We're not going to lose that now, and we're going to only pull the elbows straight down to the ground. Yes, sir. You reach at the top. This stays pushed back into me. This doesn't change, and now we're going to bury these elbows down. That's the rep. A lot of times people don't get a right amount of reach at the top of a lat pull down. I want him to feel this space push back right here and then not lose that and not lose the sternum on the way down. And now he's really locked in, nailing these reps. You feel the difference on those two? Good. The pull through, look, like you understand one thing, you understand all things in some ways. I'm going to adjust him just so the eyesight's a little bit more forward right there. I still want to see a curve. I don't want this guy to take away his curve. He's going to push the hands, which pushes the back into me. Good. We're going to come back up. He has to actively push the ground with his feet even as he's going down. I want a concentric orientation of some stuff while we're yielding, even with something like this. Good. Excellent. Push the ground through the inside edge of your feet to keep those knees straight. That's the ticket. You feel that one? Good. If you don't get what you want in a hinge, which is going to be a compression, exhale, dominant thing, feed it some more exhale, compression, dominant joint actions. Inside edge of the foot. I'm going to pronate them a little bit. You just getting some extra ones? Or is this set 2 for you?
This is set 2. Yeah.
Now this guy's crushing this lat pull down. Okay, yep. On the reach, you're gonna see him really open up his back right here. Boom. And then he keeps this formation as he brings his elbows down. And you see, as soon as he does that, boom, everything just is firing like crazy. He maintains the axial skeleton in a sagittal competent place. And if he does that, we increase the probability that the target muscle is going to be this big bad boy right here. If he doesn't hold his body in that position, I have no idea what he's going to recruit. Awesome job. Nice work. Okay, so that concludes that workout. You can shut the fuck up. All right, so what we're going to do, it's 12:30 right now, okay? We're going to break for lunch at 1:10, okay? I want you to take a few minutes, use the bathroom, grab a quick sip, something like that. We're going to reconvene back in the front. I'm just going to cover a couple of things assessment-wise. Then we're going to go to lunch, and we're going to come back after that, okay? So let's take 5, and we'll meet back up in the front.
It's weird. It has to be. Oh yeah, let's make it so quick.
I just shut it.